Is PCWA going to be friendly at all about maybe giving us a different meter to see if?
You know, the numbers aren't adding up. So Bill or Don got me calculated. They had us as 30 million gallons based on converting units. I mean, they just use units. And based on our meter reads, we're at 25. So there seems to be a, you know, yeah. And I'm wondering, they put a new register into an existing meter body with a new propeller. And if those aren't compatible, you know, it's going to give us the wrong reading. I mean, it was, I don't know if you saw where it jumped.
Oh, yeah.
And if those numbers are real, it's like we're running out of capacity at the plant. No permitted capacity.
And it would mean that the other meter, the stuff that you were, wait, are you reading the same meter that we're reading?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, our production.
I thought you had
but we are putting in new meters in the plant that will basically should match that one.
Yeah. So that could be the check.
That will be a double check right there.
So I'm gonna.
Okay, they can see us, but they can't hear us, or I mean,
Right, they haven't heard us.
Okay.
Yet.
Hear you.
Oh, you hear us?
Oh, good.
Okay.
I can hear you just fine. I just had myself muted.
Okay, we'll give it another minute and see.
Wait, how do we?
I don't know if this will work or not. Give it a try. The microphone. Bluetooth.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
How's everybody?
Really good. How are you?
No, we're doing great. Doing
Okay.
great. I got away from Auburn for the weekend. I'm doing good.
Nice.
Very nice. Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
This makes me the manager or the whatever the administrator.
Hi, Yolanda. Not bad, sorry.
That wasn't good.
How do you turn your volume? Where's the sound on? Right here, I got it.
But,
Nope.
okay, I got the.
I still hear the echo.
You need to turn the volume off on your laptop. Maybe it's down here. Hello? Hello? Can you hear us?
We can hear you. I can hear you okay.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, but it's coming off of this one, so.
Those red lights might mean something.
That's muted, so it's not.
Oh, got it.
Wait, which is muted?
If I
The
push.
speaker is muted. That's active right there.
Test.
Can you hear us okay?
Bonnie, you can
I
hear
can
us?
hear you. I can.
Can one of you speak?
I'm
Yeah.
good.
Because we can't hear you.
Fine.
I'm here. I can hear everybody.
Can one of you speak?
Okay. I'm gonna kill it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then between one of these.
But then they'll get the back feed off of each other, so it'll have to be that one. We'll have to leave one.
I'm not sure about that.
You both have.
Well, that might have been the problem then for your speaker here.
Oh, okay.
That's just for mine. It doesn't- Turn it on again, or plug it in the conference one. I think that might have been muted. Okay, sound check one more time. Can you hear us?
We can hear.
I can.
I can hear.
Yes, I can.
Coming through.
Yeah, I think we got it now.
It is. Okay.
Okay, I think we can go ahead and call the meeting to order. So I'm going to do a roll call. So Bonnie,
I'm here.
Kathy,
I'm here.
Dan,
I'm here.
Lynn, and myself is here. Gerry,
Here.
is here, and Don is here. So that's what we need for the meeting. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting, August 11th? Or I'm sorry, approve
Yes.
the meeting for, approve the agenda for the meeting today.
Yes.
I need a motion.
I move, this is Kathy, and I move to approve the agenda for today.
This is Dan. I approve, I second the agenda for today.
So Kathy,
Kathy and Jan.
Captain Dan.
Okay, is anybody on the, from the community on the call that wants to be recognized?
Diane Alessi here.
Anyone else?
Tiffany Vanderlinden here.
hi Tiffany.
Tiffany?
Hi.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
Greg Bala.
Joanne Carmona. Oh, sorry.
And it looks like that's it. So
Hey, Joanne. Joanne, are you there?
Yes.
I'm sorry to do this right here, but I had to turn off the Gamble's water. There was a huge pipe break right at the street, so I turned it off, and so
Okay.
there's no water to the property right now. Just wanted to give
That's fine.
and we contacted the son. So anyway, I had to do that at like 6 o'clock. So,
Oh, jeez.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So anyway,
Okay, that's fine. But who fixes it? Do the kids need to fix it?
the homeowner fixes it, or
Oh,
okay. That's why I was telling you.
okay. Can I talk to you later about it then?
Please do. Yeah, but anyway,
Okay,
it just happened.
thanks. Oh,
Okay.
thanks.
I would've
Sure.
called you
And I know we didn't get any correspondence
3 doors.
for this month, so we're going to move on to the reports for water. Gerry, you want to go ahead?
All right. Plant is running well. We made a lot of water last month, and I'll get to that in number 2. But the plant's performing well. It's good. We averaged 0.8 MGD this July, which is about 200,000 gallons a day more than what we did last July. So it's been markedly more water, and I think I alluded to that at the last meeting, that we're just making a significantly amount more.
And 0.8 MGD is 800,000 gallons a day.
Yeah.
So that.
And last year at the same period, we did just over 600,000 gallons a day on average. So.
And a good sized swimming pool is like 30,000 gallons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, residential.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a lot of water. There's no leaks that we are aware of out in the system or anything like that. The one thing that has changed is over the weekend, Don got a hold of me and got the PCWA bill, which was $4,000 more than what it was last year during that same period. And on the 9th of July, PCWA came out and replaced the register and the turbine in the existing meter. So in other words, the main meter body, if you imagine like a big pot, is still in there connected to the pipe. They unbolted it and put a new one in. Immediately after that is when we start registering the higher flows. Don got me the actual bill with the usage from PCWA. The numbers don't quite jive with our totals, so we're looking at that. I'm going to call the meter tech and try to figure out what's going on. The repercussions of this are, if you're truly selling that much water, you're going to have more revenue, right? So your volume costs will match. The downside of that is, and you only read your meters quarterly, so we're not going to know, right?
Yep.
The downside of that is, if in fact these numbers are correct, we had over a 900,000 gallon day. Our plant's rated for 1 MGD. So all of a sudden, and I think we talked at the last meeting, historically during the summer, 600, 700,000 gallons a day left us lots of capacity. These plants are rated on, filter sizes, pumps, pipes, and stuff like that. If in fact we are bumping against that, that kind of triggers the need to, how do you expand the plant, right? And to expand the plant, we'd have to get rid of the little filter, put the big filter in there. That would probably do it, to be quite honest. This is all you really need to do, but that's not a cheap project. But it's something we got to get to the bottom of.
Yeah.
So we're looking at. I'll report back next month.
So just a question. So we know what water we're taking in from PWA, and we know how much water is being consumed.
Sold, yeah.
Right. Is there a way for you to know how much water you're producing?
That's what we're measuring through that meter.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's a joint meter that
Yeah.
actually the meter belongs to PCWA. It's just like one of our meters, right?
Right.
But it's big, and so we use that for plant production, how much water is being made, because every drop of water that goes out of the plant goes through that meter.
Right. So we should, I mean, within reason, right? We should be able to reconcile between what PCWA sends, what you receive, and then what you send out and what he collects.
Well, basically that we will, when this project's over, when the tank project's over, there's another meter going inside the plant that would do just that.
Okay.
But forever, since inception of the district, everything's relied on that meter because it picks up everything that goes through. Now, whether it was a faulty meter, but it's been consistent year after year. I mean, your demands have always been, consistent.
Something changed.
Well, we know the meter assembly changed, and whether that's the proper assembly to go into that meter body, that could be the difference.
And we know the usage is up.
Our usage is up, and so the other clue will be next time you read meters, we'll see what consumption is out in the district, right? And that's a big double check, but because we don't do it quarterly, we can't.
But assuming that their meter's right, then we're getting pretty close to bumping up to our capacity.
The permitted capacity.
Yeah.
You could drive more through the plant, but
which could be an issue.
it could be, but you don't have any big subdivisions, but it's not, when you start running plants, redlining them like that. But let me do a little math, and we have all the ops data that we're going to compare plant run times, because the meter's showing 560 gallons a minute, which is what the old meter showed.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Sure.
I'm a fan of Zoom meetings, but typically when we start talking, then the person who's talking, her face shows up on the screen so we know who's talking and what voice it is. Is it possible to adjust the camera during the time that you guys are in the same? Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that's kind of odd here is the meter, the real time, what's flowing through. It's digital now. It tells you 560. That's what the old pump used to put out. So something's not adding up. And so we'll get to the bottom of it and figure out. I think and hope it's just a problem with the setting in the meter. So that's that. We had, in terms of repairs, we had a pretty small but difficult leak over on Gale. It took 2 days to actually find it, and we dug the heck out. I don't know if anybody's been through there and saw that. We just basically repaved the whole section across and some potholes. At the end of the day, it was a small service line leak. What threw everything is there's an electric trench through the middle, and normally those service lines come right from the meter straight perpendicular into the road, and it wasn't leaking on the service. It didn't look like, so we were digging, looking for the main. We couldn't find the main. Long story short, I don't know what they did, but they took that service line and bent it and ran it parallel in that lady's property, and then it hooked. So it goes about 20 feet in her property parallel to the road and then comes across. We finally found it, and we were able to fix it.
They changed it?
No, it was copper service line. It was just,
the way it was.
I don't know what happened, and we've never ran into a service that didn't come straight. I mean, it came out, went down, bent, and then ran parallel to the road, and then dove down under.
Was this when it was put in that it happened, or did?
Yeah, must have been, yeah. The only other thing that was odd out there is that particular site has got a buried electrical service, and you could still see where the electrical trench came across. And I don't know, maybe when they did that work, they broke something and decided, hey, or we were thinking maybe it was a property line dispute way back in the day. They were going to set the meters there because there is a coupling on that service line, and we're wondering if somebody forced them to move the services up to the property line, like it was a property dispute. It was an odd, and it was easy to fix, hard to find.
Gerry, that line was the original line?
Yeah, it appears to be the copper. Yeah, the original copper service line. Yeah. So, last week or last month, we talked about 5900 Stanley. So we ordered all the parts and materials. John Harbour was going to do it all. John sent us an email saying, hey, I'm demobbing off the site next week. It's no big deal. So we'll end up digging it up, and he'll hot tap it, and we'll just build the manifold, you know, for the school property down there. So we ordered the material a couple weeks ago, but it was a pretty big order with a bunch of curb stops, and we just haven't heard back from the folks at the supply house.
We're gonna pay in advance.
Okay, so we'll schedule it and get it all set up.
Yeah.
And, yeah. The estimate that we gave him is probably higher than what it's going to cost.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be my guess. So, okay. As far as just miscellaneous stuff, on the invoice, you'll see we bought a bunch of plywood and we're splitting them. So there's a little bit of drywall right on the bottom of the filter building on the east side. So, you know, you guys supply the material, our guys just cut it and we put it in charge for the labor. Cummings, we talked about the gas line. I haven't done anything on that this month. It's just been too busy to deal with. The one thing that we did do related to the generators, we put in that application to Placer County Office of Emergency Services to get recouped for all those generator costs. Right. We should hear. I don't know if you got anything from that.
I haven't heard anything from them.
They were supposed to make a decision early in August. So
but it was cool that we could just get all the invoices and here you go.
Yeah.
So they do.
Hopefully it works out. We got almost all the meters replaced. That one older gentleman had called that night. You sent the email. He's got a true 5/8 meter.
Oh yeah.
It's weird. So we've ordered a 7.5 inch 3/4 inch meter to get that in. We'll get that installed once we get it. That was on the list to replace, and it's just an odd meter for out here. So no capital improvements to discuss. So that's kind of the water report. If anybody else has any other things related to the storage tank project. So the ring wall has been completed, formed. They've got the interior all backfilled. They've got the exterior most of the way backfilled, holding that low because they've got to put pavement down and they're going to have to put piping in along all that. It went really well on the 17th, next Monday. The tank crew should be here. So Lynn, you're going to start seeing steel hauled in. Bonnie, you might see some big trucks with steel coming in, and they're going to start on the tank. So they're like a week and a half ahead of schedule on starting the tank. So that's good news. During this time, because all the ring well went well and whatnot, they're starting to do the site piping right now, particularly in the congested area. And the goal is to get a lot of that done so that the tank crew can get in and there's not a conflict between the crews trying to work in that small little site.
Yeah, sorry, it is.
So we talked last month a little bit about the tank color. So the schedule is, I think, I copied you on that email this morning to the coding, I think the 23rd.
Yeah, they're like, we don't usually have one.
Oh, the agreement. Yeah. So we'll have to deal with that. But in terms of starting painting, probably about the 23rd. So he told me he needed like 3 weeks ahead of time because they've got to order the pigment and all that for all the materials. So I sent a scan. Jeff, our next door neighbor, I asked him, he got the colors, he didn't get them. So I sent him a scan of it and I'm going to give him my color card. And that's my only color card. I think a couple other color cards are sitting around. Maybe a couple of board members have them, but I was going to give that to Jeff, but we kind of got to get that ball rolling, you know, in terms of selecting that.
I still have mine.
Okay,
I
perfect.
talked to Jeff
Okay,
and Goulart
okay,
and Ludwigsson's next door to me.
okay.
So do we need a consensus by
Yeah.
next meeting?
Yeah, maybe before,
Okay.
actually. Because, and I'll check with them just to make sure, because they've got to prime it. It's not just like they go out and paint it, right? They've got to sandblast, they've got to put a primer, they put an intermediate coat, and we're only dealing with the top coat. So it'll be towards the end of the coating process.
But are they ordering it all up front though, right?
Well, they will, but yeah, and they might want to ship it all at once. I'm not,
Yeah.
but we do need to start thinking about that and getting those neighbors involved if we're going to let them.
Yeah, well, I think we were all comfortable with the neighbors deciding, and you were gonna lead that effort, so as long as you can coordinate, I don't think anybody on the board has any concerns.
And I could go up and meet there at night or in the morning or weekend or whatever, if the people want to come and I don't know if they care, or I can give you a list of other tanks and addresses that they can go look at some different colors around, just to kind of get a feel for what it's going to look like. We had a really good site meeting with the electrical engineer and the electrical contractor. So it's all coming down to electrical. It's going to be kind of, other than weather, right? We can't control weather, but we came up with a plan to run the plant temporary on temporary controls and power. So we've got a plan for that, and I think that resolved a lot of pressure. The trouble is Tesco is the material supplier, and these just aren't things you get at Home Depot. I mean, these are big control cabinets that all have to be built and wired. They're pretty complex. There's variable speed drives for the pump motor. So it's not just stuff you go buy, right? So in talking to them, we've got a plan in shape. And we're going to use the old the old signal wire from the reservoir. We found that, and they determined, hey, we can cut into that and bypass the reservoir level, and we'll use that level to run temporarily. So we've got a plan, but electrical's a little dicey. We just got the submittal approved on Monday, so that's now they're going to hopefully start building all that stuff.
Is there anything that could jeopardize your plan B?
There always is.
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll
deal with it. Okay.
We'll deal with it. Electrical, it's just more time at the plant, making sure everything's running and stuff. If you have to run things in hand, when they really start to do that work, demand should be dropping off, right? And that's how we've kind of scheduled the order work, so they don't cut into it in the middle of August when we're making a ton of water. And that's part of the challenge that they're dealing with, right? Is how we're going to get all this done. We're going to get the material. So it's under control right now. It appears that we've got it all worked out. PP2.
Gerry, question.
Yeah.
It's Dan. Hey, if they're having a hang up on the electrical side, can they still run the plant manually?
That's what we'd have to do.
Yeah. So while they're getting that sorted out, the controls and whatnot, so they won't have an issue with that, right?
I'm sure there'll be nothing we can't overcome. I mean, the criteria are the plant can't operate without its automatic shutdowns. I mean, that's a must-have. If it doesn't, someone's got to be there watching it to make sure it doesn't go into alarm and doesn't shut down. We may lose tank signal for a while. We might run it during the day real hard, run off storage at night and just shut it all down. So we've got contingencies, And I'm sure at that point PG&E will start doing their PSPSs to really throw a wrinkle in things. But I think we've got a good plan in place to make it work.
Okay, I was just curious. I wanted to ask what that was. So thank you.
PP2, so progress payment 2 from Pastoral's tank was submitted at the end of July. I think as of this morning, it's kind of a go back and forth. They have a schedule of values. We evaluate progress on the project. They want to get paid more up front. We want to get paid for what's been done, right? So there's a little bit of and they're pretty fair. And I think he sent his invoice for stored materials this morning. We got that. I bundled it up. Dawn did yeoman's work and came up with all the past from January 2017 basically to present. I came up with a scan file, a nice spreadsheet of all the historical tank expenses. He and I just need to confer because we went through it. I think there's about $25,000 that were other things, right? Yeah. So as soon as you and I agree on that, I'm going to update the USDA paperwork. We got blessing from USDA this afternoon that the draft paperwork that we submitted, they're kind of complicated forms that they want, and the interim loan kind of throws a wrench in it. Michael kind of gave it the A-OK, and I told him, hey, we'll submit the full package hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday to look. The progress payment total was $201,000, and then less retainage, it's $191,089, which is different than what you and I talked about, because he revised his schedule of values based on that invoice, of course, right?
Well, so can I interrupt for a second? We are paying on work that's been done and not work that's about to be done. Is that correct?
That's absolutely. That's why it takes a little while to.
And I understand that, but I thought I heard you say that the company would like to have bigger and more upfront, and I have a real concern about that. So
do I, and so does USDA, and that's why it takes a while to work it out. And it's legit. I mean, this all has to. I have to send pictures down to USDA because they can't come on site right now.
Okay.
policy.
I
But no,
just-
Kathy, everything is done. Stored material, they have to send us photos, show that it's in a secured area, and then they got to give us backup invoices on it. So
Okay,
it's all
thank you. Appreciate
And
it.
then a negotiation of percentages.
Mhm.
And it's a percentage. They'll say 10, they'll say 9, and
well,
USD.
they'll say 20, I'll say 10 or 15.
Right.
Yeah.
it becomes a negotiation of
Wait,
percentage.
wait a minute. Why are we negotiating? I must have missed that. We're negotiating percentages?
Percentage of completion.
Yeah, percent complete.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so they have this big table. So for instance, the concrete pour, $17,000. Well, okay, yeah, the concrete was poured, all done, so they get 100% on that. Site grading, hey, you're almost done, you're only 90%, you don't get 100% credit. So that's the sense.
Okay, I get that. All right.
So Don, you and I just have to come to terms on that big spreadsheet.
Yeah.
With all that, and then I'll package that in the 271 forms, all the paperwork. We'll get it to Michael, and it should move forward. And I think I already alluded on schedule. They're actually ahead of schedule by about a week and a half. So that's good, and we need a little fluff, that's where it's at. I think the site superintendent does super high quality work. He's old and cranky, but he's a perfectionist, and he does good stuff. So
Gerry, this is Dan.
Go ahead, Dan.
Gerry, have they had any trouble with any of the backfill or any of the when they're on the site itself, were laying things up, or how's that looking?
yeah, so yeah, they did have trouble on the backfill. So unfortunate for them, when they estimated this job, according to them, and you got to filter what you get, they didn't anticipate the big fill section under tank 1. And it's obvious. I mean, you look at the profile, it goes out, here's existing grade, it goes out and down. So the challenge that they had was using existing soils to the extent that they could on site, and they had some trouble getting good compaction. We had the geotech out there doing the inspection. So we did have some challenges at the beginning, using some of the on-site soils. Towards the end and underneath the tank, they just imported aggregate base.
Okay.
And which is like concrete. I mean, that's,
Yeah, and once you pack it, it's, yeah.
yeah. So that I was happy to see that. Probably what they'll do, they're not quite done backfilling around the north end of it. And I think, well, I don't think, I know what they want to do is, the challenge on the project for them is there's a net surplus of soil on the site. The trouble is you need about 1,500 yards at the front for under tank 1. Then you got to pull about 4,000 yards out for tank 2, right? So it's killing them knowing that they've got to pay for import, and then they've got to pay for export.
To get rid of the old excess material.
Yeah. So there were some challenges, but the geotech was out there. Everything was tested and compacted, every lift as they came up. So we're in good shape.
Okay. I used to work in that field. That's why I wanted to ask. So it's like, that's what I did for Army Corps of Engineers.
So that's the report. Okay.
Any other questions for Gerry?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gerry.
All right, guys.
Is there anything?
Gerry. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right.
Okay.
Hey, Gerry, thanks so much. We appreciate for what you're doing.
All right. Stay cool.
Mhm.
Gonna get hot.
Holy shit.
Pardon?
No, I hit the power
Oh,
button,
okay.
but
All right, guys. Bye.
Okay, bye, Gerry.
excuse my French.
Okay, so Don, you'll give your report.
Oh, you know what? I'll just turn it down a second. There. Okay. So the first bullet there is obtaining a webmaster for Christian Valley website, and that actually will be addressed in just a few minutes. Well, this how our meetings go in a few hours, but anyway, it'll be addressed in just a bit with the addition of CSDA and a company called Streamline. And it's actually kind of cool looking. But anyway, that's another story. On the committee updates, bylaw committee, these people are awesome people. They have been working really hard to get some bylaws that are ready for legal to look at. And so the board wanted to have the bylaws first sent to CSDA for our free hour of consult, and then if needed, and it will be, to go to an attorney, and choosing an attorney that will come up in just a little few minutes. And so anyway, so that the bylaws are at CSDA right now. They'll be looked at shortly, hopefully. The board compensation study, that is that's pending on the bylaws committee, and getting the information from the attorney on what to do and how to do it in relation to that. Those committees will be coming to an end real soon, because there's not going to be much work to do on those, and there is going to be some revision on the bylaws, when we get the information back from the attorney, depending on how they give it back to us. But as those drop off, we're going to have other ones start back up. So the communications committee, that's going to be starting back, or not start, it'll be starting, and also the policy review and development. And I'm kind of excited about that, because now that we have a membership to California Special Districts Association, now we're going to be able to pull some policies that are kind of preset and written by legal counsel, and then be able to kind of schmooze it or apply it to our, adapt it to our, thank you. Well, it's more adapted to our district, and then be able to adopt it from there. The fire safety and station, it has not started, and we don't actually have a board member signed up for that one, actually, as far as I know. And as well as the CIP projects for the strategic outlook on that.
We should just put that on hold till after the election, and we can sign somebody to it in January.
Did you guys hear that from Lynn? He was saying we should put it on hold and assign it to some new board members in January.
Well, and I think, and if I could add
And
something.
we're gonna have to use our outdoor voice around here.
Okay.
So anyway, are there any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, that's your turn. Any questions?
Oh, I have a question. So
Yeah.
wait, so are we putting all the other committees on hold, or are we wanting to kick off a new committee, at least one or more committees?
Kicking off two committees, communications, and then the policy review and development.
Okay. And then for
Is that right,
Okay.
Kathy?
Don, can you hear me?
Oh,
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Yeah. You can't hear me?
No, I can hear it.
I can hear you, Kathy.
Okay, I just wanted to add a couple things that can you hear me? The board input was embedded into the bylaws. So all the board input we got was embedded in the bylaws before it went off to CSDA.
Okay, I just got like the last phrase of your last sentence. Sorry.
Okay. All the board input,
Yes,
was put into the bylaws before we sent it off.
correct.
Okay. And then we're starting the two committees, the policy and the communications. And then you're right, Lynn, everything else is going to wait till after the election. Do you understand? Do we hear that? What happened to our sound?
We can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically basically, we're starting the policy committee and we're starting the communications committee, and then everything else waits till after the election.
Perfect.
So did I understand right that we're gonna send the bylaws to the attorney and then work on them when we get it back? Or we can make a decision as a board and then send it over?
So,
We've already sent it to, not to an attorney, we sent it to CSDA for their review.
Okay,
And all of the comments that the board asked for were embedded into the bylaws. So that it looks good. And when it comes back with their blessing, if there are no major issues, then it comes back to the board for final review and approval. If there are issues with it, then we send it to legal counsel, but we're hoping not to have to do that.
but the one issue that I thought about after we talked about it, if we limit to 2 terms for limitations on how long someone can serve, that means that somebody that's only serving on a 2-year.
We changed that based on your recommendation.
For 4 years, and I'm concerned that might not be long enough for them to really start getting continuity.
We changed that based on your recommendation. So we put 3 full terms.
Yeah, so it went to 3.
yeah.
Back to, yeah.
Well, and
However,
they put a years of service into it too.
And we put the years of service, or 12 years, so that we get the full complement.
the one, Kathy, the one kind of realization that I came to as I went to the elections board to sign up again was, I'm not sure there's a way to enforce that, because the elections board will accept the application.
Well, that's true. We'll have to figure that one out when the time comes.
Yeah. I just, you know, I realized that maybe.
Well, and we put in a clause in there that doesn't start until after the this election. So basically, it doesn't start until after the first of the year.
Right.
Okay. Oh, are there any questions from the community?
Any-
I'm sorry, I keep stealing.
Sure, no. I'm looking at the screen to see if anybody's got their hand raised. It doesn't look like it. So we're good on the committee updates? Okay, thank you. Any other reports? Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen so that they can see
One last thing on that.
Yeah.
We need a volunteer from the board for communications and for policy review, right?
That's right.
So I volunteer for communications.
Okay.
Good, because you were already on it.
Okay, yeah. I thought I had signed up for that one, but I saw my action items that I hadn't volunteered, so.
Okay. That's a good thing.
And then who's on the policy review development?
I need one more person. I'm on it, and then I need one more person on it.
I can help you with that. This is Dan.
Perfect, Dan. Thank you so much.
And Kathy, you're on communications too, right?
I wasn't planning on it, but I can be.
No. I just making sure I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan, we'll work the policy around your schedule because I know you work.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so no other reports from anybody? Okay, we'll move on to the action items. So action item number 1.
Welcome to Christian Valley. We got the sign. I'm going to share the so that we got the. Oh.
Do we have the new picture?
He's trying to display it.
It didn't make me. That's what I was concerned about. It didn't make me the.
Didn't make you the host?
I'm not the host, but I signed in as the host.
But anybody should be able to display.
So, well, there.
Let me see if I can.
Right here, share screen. Which screen do you want?
It's on there.
Oh, it's on here.
Oh, but we could go to the actual. That would be fun.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, no. maybe I can share it from this one. Oh, that might be the issue.
Don, did you sign in with multiple devices?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
sorry. So I'm going to be sharing my screen from here. So on this other computer. So we got Mac and we got laptop and now the desktop. Oh, it's how do I enable that?
The share screen?
Yeah,
It's right there in the green slide.
I know, but it said host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Oh,
Yeah, I signed in as me.
are you the host? You're not.
I'm the host. I mean, I just signed in. So.
Click on the more button up there.
Okay.
Is anybody from home able to get the link to the document and share it from their computer?
My share screen is lit, so I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see if I can bring it up right now.
Okay.
Is it getting hot in here?
No, that's just you.
Yeah.
I just need to adjust this meeting.
Well, it says host, not that it's on where it's hosting is on.
I know.
Can you scroll down more? Recording in automatic. Click on the advanced, I guess.
Oh, you know what? It's telling me that you have disabled it too.
Is there anyone on the board who has not reviewed the proposal from Interstate Sales? So we can just talk about it?
This is Dan. I've looked at it.
The only question that I actually have about it, it seems, I know that this is something that you or Don came up with and just the board has looked at. And I believe, Bonnie, didn't you put it in the newsletter as well?
Well, not, yes.
Sort of.
Trying to think of how long ago it was. I think it was 2 newsletters ago. We talked about, you know, is anyone artsy? Would they like to do a sign?
Oh, that's right.
Someone responded to Dawn. The only other involvement that I've had since then is going up and measuring an existing sign so we know what the scale is.
So the only thing I was thinking and is that this would be a perfect opportunity if we want to delay the purchase of it a little bit, is to put it out there to the community and just let, you know, in a quick survey, you know, do you like it? Yes or no? And so that we can get some community input on it. But
my feeling is we asked for people to come up with designs, and if you start asking yes or no, then you're going to have, you know, 6 in favor and 6
weigh in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I always look at what's defensible, and I think it's defensible in terms of we put it out there. Certainly we can put the final design in the next newsletter and say, here's what's coming. If someone doesn't like it, they can contact us, I guess. But I mean,
Yeah,
these
I
things
don't know, it just,
can go on forever.
yeah,
Well, the only problem with that is a day late and dollars short by
Right,
that
yeah.
time, because they've already ordered the blanks and everything else, so, you know.
for not liking a sign. Yeah, that's why I was thinking just something quick, just to say, this is what we're putting up. You have 2 days to give us input, period. I don't know that people will do that. I don't know how many people would do it. I mean, it's the color green appears that I'm looking at, like all of the other road signs are green and white. So we know the clarity is there.
Mhm.
And the only other question that I would have is, has the county given us their blessing for the sign, because they get real testy when we put up the wrong thing. And I don't want to spend money for something that they don't like.
The input that I have is we need 4 signs and not 3.
Oh, I have no idea. I have no, how many
Yeah,
signs?
originally we had asked for 4 and then they went to 3, so.
Who's they?
Which street aren't we gonna have a sign on?
Which are the streets which are the 4 streets, Lynn? Just so I'm clear.
Well, there's the one by coming in from Saddleback. There's one there, right?
Right.
And then, yeah, and then there's the one
Valley Road.
on Christian Valley Road, right?
By Craig. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, how about McElroy to Mary? And how about on,
Oh, I forgot about that one.
I don't think that's the one I would.
and there's
No.
also Florence.
I'm sorry, Lynn, I can't hear you.
Florence.
Oh, Florence.
Lawrence, yeah.
So, I'm trying to recall the discussion from our last meeting, because we then is when we decided on 3, right? Is that what?
Yeah, I
That's what-
saw that
That's what the
we
minute.
ordered 3.
Well, the thing about the sign coming in from Florence is that is really close to where the road where Florence comes in. That's really close to the other sign. So that's, I don't know, that's a good question.
The one thing I would say is that I think we were only looking to replace the signs that exist now. So that was kind of the first priority. So if because the other locations don't have signs now. So if we feel that they need one, I'm not so concerned. Like I said, I just thought we have those signs there, freshen them up, and that's what we should do. It's a good point. I think if I had to choose between McElroy and Florence, I'd maybe ask for Florence. Would be because I'd see there be more traffic. The one concern I would have is then we have to ask if it's okay if we put the sign up, I think, right? Because the neighbors may not like that. The people that live there, so.
And I agree that Florence is probably more important than McElroy.
Yeah.
Mary.
I'm gonna leave the meeting on this one. That one's still going,
Okay.
and see if I can.
I drive Florence often too, and I've noticed increasingly over the last, let's say 6 months or a year, that there's a lot of, old sofas and old mattresses and things that are dumped between where the new house is going in and Highway 49. And I would hate to have our Welcome to Christian Valley sign in any of those turnouts where all those old mattresses and tires are being dumped.
We put it right on the other side of the dump, so it.
Right, so we need to be mindful of that.
Yeah, but it is true. I know a lot of people who enter on Florence.
Mhm, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Where would you suggest?
I would say Florence should come before McElroy.
But where on Florence? Not by Highway 49, right?
Well, you gotta have one on Christian Valley Road.
Right.
Coming in, and you gotta have one on Virginia coming in through
Right.
Saddleback, right?
Yeah.
So we want one more, you're gonna put it on Florence,
Yes.
or we're gonna put it on McElroy to Mary?
No, I'm asking where on Florence will we put it? Like at Helen or where would it go?
It's gotta be on our side of the first house, the first property, so maybe whoever's gonna put the signs up, they need to get out there and look at it with a map.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to the one question I did ask. Has this been approved to put up because aren't these roads Placer County roads?
Dawn.
We maintain the roads, so I'm not sure that they have any.
When we were talking about this, I think we were gonna check with the sign place to see what county ordinance we have to adhere to for the signs. Do we know?
We can do what we want on our roads. You know,
These are ours?
on Christian Valley maintained roads.
It's in our right of way.
Yeah, and including the one on Christian Valley Road,
Yeah.
because it's in the,
Within our boundaries?
yeah.
Okay. Did you hear that, Kathy?
I don't know, I did. I just was under the impression that if the road was maintained by the county, like Christian Valley Road is maintained by the county, then we had to adhere to county specifications. And I just want to make sure that we're doing that. If there's some way that we could just double check on that, because I'd hate to have them get testy with us and say, take it down. I don't think they will, because it looks just like all their signs, but you know.
And it's
Which one's getting feedback?
That's a no.
Can you hear us?
Stop. You can hear the dog too.
Okay, so 2 are replacing signs that currently are there. So, it absolutely doesn't hurt to check just, before we spend the money, which is not, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's not insignificant either. And then 1 more in addition to. So I think we're looking at appropriating $750 plus, I guess, tax delivery for those. Is that correct?
I think so, but just one more comment on the sign. Should it say welcome to Christian Valley Park instead of welcome Christian Valley Park?
I think it should say welcome to, but
yeah. Okay, so we'll have to make that.
Me. Yeah.
What did it say?
Otherwise, it sounds like we're welcoming Christian Valley Park to our area.
Right.
So if we could just, I would just like to see us just verify that the sign meets the standard, and then add the word to after welcome.
Any questions from the community? Diane? Yep, I see you.
All right. My comment comes actually from a professional perspective. I was a graphic designer, self-employed for 9 years. And that graphic needs some cleaning up before it could go and be expanded to 48 by 36, because it's going to emphasize the problems with it in the design. Furthermore, I called Interstate. They don't have enough specifics to give you an accurate bid. That's actually technically 3 colors, because there's a portion of the graphic that is in the gray zone. So there would be black, white, and green. You'd have to pick a specific Pantone color, because your monitor is not calibrated to the exact green that you're looking at, probably. And the mounting, plus it should probably have reflective paint, at least on the white. I'm saying that needs to go out to probably a few different vendors. I looked online. There are online vendors that can compete with that price as well, but it's not an accurate bid. And when I called Interstate, they encouraged me to come in and have a chat with the graphic designer to sort all those details out. So I yield.
So are you suggesting you take over this project then, Diane? Is that
I can.
if you've done all this legwork on this, which is
I
news?
certainly can and wouldn't mind doing so.
Okay.
And
So-
there are two other signs that we should consider. Well, one other sign we should consider. There's a copy of it on Greg, and it states that any streets that the public has access to come under the California Code for Traffic Regulations, something along that line. And I don't think they're only one that I know of in Christian Valley, and that's on Greg when you turn off Christian Valley Road. So Diane, when you come home, you might look at it and see what I'm talking about. And you too, Bonnie, it's right there. I don't think the courts would.
I didn't quite catch everything you said, Lynn. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Can you speak louder to the mic, maybe? I wasn't sure. She didn't hear you. Or Diane couldn't make out what you said.
Oh. Diane, have you noticed the sign there on?
Oh, you know what? Actually, we need to sit over here. That's what happened. We changed the mics.
Which ones?
That one,
Yeah.
that's the mic on that.
Sit right here, maybe.
Sorry to make you make musical chairs.
Anyway, Diane, on Greg, when you turn off of Christian Valley Road, there's a small sign there that says, in essence, that says roads that are open to the public in California come under the California Vehicle Code.
Correct.
And they can be enforced.
Right.
It wouldn't hurt at all if we had the other 2 points signed the same way. Somewhere as you first enter Christian Valley.
Okay. So you're proposing for us to consider looking at adding additional signs to meet that standard as we're doing.
They're like 12 by 18, something like
Okay.
that.
Okay. So do we want to defer the action item to our next meeting? And then Diane, if you're going to go there, I wouldn't mind going with you if we could just schedule our time.
That's fine, Rolando, and I can check other vendors out too, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also if the original designer can give me the vector drawing, I can clean it up. And I won't charge the district to do that.
Thanks.
Did you have another question, Diane? I just saw your hand was up again.
No, I'm sorry, I'll put it down, Rolando.
Okay. Okay, so on action item number 1, we're going to defer till we get some more information that Diane's going to look into. We're going to go maybe meet with the designer, clean up the image some more. And then we're also going to look into what Lynn is proposing, which is potentially adding the California vehicle code sign in addition to our welcome sign. Okay.
On a separate post.
Okay. Okay, so that's it for action item number 1. So Don, you want to go to action item number 2?
Okay. And all the stuff that I would have wanted to share is on our website under board meeting docs. And there's a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. And we're on the part 1. And I wish that was better at Zoom.
And you can't get to them from this computer?
It doesn't allow me to share.
It was allowing me to share. See, it says share,
Yeah,
and then it says a whiteboard or iPad or Safari.
Safari is the.
Yeah. So share Safari. I'll open systems.
Can you give share permission to me and then I can put the document up if I have it?
I think he did give you, so you want to try it?
Okay, yeah, which document are we on?
Part 1.
Which is,
There's a link at the board meeting.
Okay, I'll get it and put it up. Then I'll share the screen.
You can do, you have to go change some settings.
I don't know how to do this.
Well, you can click on Zoom here.
And then. What does that say?
It's Zoom us now, so yeah, we can't record and be on Zoom, so you can just later. That's it.
Okay, found it. Bring it up and then I'll switch over and share the screen. We get to the first one. Doop, doop. Okay, and moving right along, let's go on this one. Share screen. Oh, it's disabled.
Yeah, I guess we're not gonna be able to then. So can folks bring it up on their own so that they can review while Dawn speaks to them?
I've looked at them and made some notes, so I'm ready to discuss this.
Okay, so we're on the attorney for the district.
May I just interrupt for a second? Perhaps maybe if you log out of one of the devices and log back in as the host, perhaps you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I did that and it didn't work. Twice.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep you guys in compliance because.
We can try logging on with this one. This one allows you to share, but it's not synchronized with that one.
Okay, yeah. Let's
Okay, we're gonna log off of this machine here and see if that makes
Okay. Yeah. All right.
assign a new host. Oh, it's asking me if I want to add a host.
Oh.
But it's, it's fine.
Click on Kathleen.
Okay.
All right, now
Can you make Kathleen a moderator or anything on Zoom so that she can actually have that ability?
well, that's okay. Oh, got it. Came up. Let's see if it brings it up now. Yep. Oh, come on. Try it one more time. There it is. Found it. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, sure can.
Not the
Good
text that
job.
we're talking about, but yes, there's something up there.
Well, I can try to make it bigger for you.
Okay.
Here we go. One. Oh, wow. Okay. How's that?
We need to go back to general attorney for the district. There we go. Well, no, gone.
That all I had. That's the next one. The next item is the job description. Is the attorney first?
I think it is.
I believe it is too.
All right. Let me move
There
down.
should be three attorneys' letters at the top.
Part 2.
There.
It's on
Part two.
part 2.
Or actually,
Well, that's on two.
I've got 4 in my packet.
The original one I looked at had more than 2.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to stop the share and bring it up.
Are you in part 1 or part 2?
I'm in part 1.
Okay.
It'll only take a second. Just have some patience. And here's part 2. Okay, and now we'll go back to share. Boom. Part 2. All righty.
Okay,
And now
you
I'll make
got
this
it. Looks
bigger
good.
for you. Okay, how's that?
Perfect.
Okay.
You have been signed up.
This is-
So Don, do you want to introduce this?
Yes, so there are several attorneys that have given the district engagement letters, and one of them's Janet Long, which is on the present letter right in front, right here, and basically they all say yes, we can do it, and then here's how much, and so Prentice Long, which is Janet Long,
Excuse me,
you can see her current billing rate is $175 an hour.
John, just so we're clear, it's Margaret Long.
Margaret Long, sorry. What did I say, Jan? Yeah, Margaret. Sorry about that. Yeah,
Okay.
Margaret Long, and I was actually really happy with talking with her. Very responsive. I even emailed on a Sunday to ask a question, and she responded, just within just a few minutes. Anyway, and then so anyway, that's Margaret Long. Bonnie, you were referred to Margaret Long, correct?
Yes, there's a woman that I know who is an attorney in the Folsom area. Her firm specializes in litigation for public agencies, primarily cities and counties. They don't handle special districts, and they primarily handle litigation. I don't know Margaret Long. I've not met her. I've not spoken with her. But my friend's firm is apparently well respected, and I did some checking outside of just talking with her. So I was happy that your experience chatting with Margaret was positive.
And her rate was also very positive.
Yeah.
Actually, what I did is I took a look at the rates for all four, and it's kind of apples and oranges or apples and tangerines, because some quoted a rate for paralegals and other support staff. Everyone except for Procopio, who wanted a retainer but didn't show an hourly rate for their principal, wanted a significant amount more than Prentice Long. So what I try to do is just kind of distill it down, look what their rate was for a principal in their firm, and she, is significantly, well, maybe not significantly, but considerably less than the others. So I think, from my perspective, as long as they meet our needs, and it's not a multi-year contract kind of thing, I'd be more than happy if we work with them for the next 12 months or so.
Are they local?
They are in Redding and in Fresno. Myers Nabe is out of Sacramento. Procopio has their California offices are in San Diego and somewhere in the Silicon Valley. And Inman Group, actually, I couldn't find an address on their they didn't have letterhead. It was just an email. I'm not sure where they're located.
They're located also in Sacramento and in San Francisco.
Okay, so they're local as well.
Mm-hmm. And I communicated with Procopio today, and they're willing to waive their retainer fee. So because I kind of shared with them that was not something that we had the ability to come up with at this point in time, even though I know we do. I suggested that, and he was fine with waiving that.
And do we know what their hourly rate is for a principal in their firm?
What you got was their hourly rate for the principal.
They didn't have an hourly rate on the proposal. It was just that I could see. I just saw the $2,500 retainer. There wasn't an hourly rate spelled out.
Don, I believe you got that, did you not? The one thing I do know, I've worked with Procopio in other arenas, and I know that their firm has specialists in all areas, and special community districts is one of their areas of specialty. But they often will allow you to consult with them either over the phone for quick questions and or for other things, text and email, and do responses without charging. They've just been super easy to work with. So I have a history with them, but I will support whatever the board wants.
It's $3.50.
$3.50 an hour?
Yes.
I didn't hear.
It's under bullet or number 2 under fees and expenses.
Okay, thank you.
It's like starts on their first page and then it ends on the top of the second page.
Gotcha.
Let's see the 350 in there.
So it sounds like we're leaning towards either Margaret Long or Procopio, right? And Margaret Long's rate is significantly less. Half. But we have a little bit more history from our board with Procopio. I don't know if I'm inclined to go with the lower rate. That would be my first. If it doesn't work out, then we move on. But I don't know what others feel. I'm indifferent otherwise.
I'm not invested in any firm one way or the other. But I do have some concerns about, our budget, our reserves. And I think that because we don't have anything that's huge, that's pressing right now, I'm happy going with Prentice Long. If for whatever reason we end up not being happy with them, then certainly I would support a change to someone else.
Yeah,
It looks like Prentice Long's much cheaper.
yeah. From the community, any opinion or comments?
And just a question. So for Prentice Long, was the rate that was quoted the principal, or was that an associate or
That's Margaret Long's rate.
Okay.
That was what it said. That was
Okay.
Principal.
And she.
Yeah, significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
I can't see if anybody's raising their hand.
Okay.
With the
Well,
I have my hand raised, Rolando.
Okay.
Diane does.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think the only thing I would probably suggest to the board is that they look to see what the client list is in terms of special districts, how many or where they've handled them. And the attorney that you're contemplating right now, where are they located? They're local. So in case there had to be a public hearing or anything of that sort, we're not going to be paying an arm and a leg for overnight and travel.
Prentice Long has offices in Redding and Fresno, Myers Nave in Sacramento, Procopio, their closest office just says Silicon Valley, so perhaps Mountain View, Inman Group in Sacramento.
And Procopio actually has offices in Sacramento and San Francisco.
Okay, so they're even closer.
Right, because that can run into some really big bucks, especially for a public hearing, and that would be a huge offset in terms of the lower hourly rate. I just suggest that. All right, that was my comment. Thank you. I yield.
Now those rates compare to Josh.
They're less.
At least rates more than Josh.
Less.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And yeah.
Dan, did you have a comment? Additional comment?
Yeah, I have a I kind of second the
I can't hear you, Dan. Are you away from your mic?
Oh wait, am I on mute? I'm sorry.
No, you just talk louder.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
That better?
Not really.
I have a concern, if we have a public hearing or something where we have to bring somebody in, that the costs are gonna run, costs can be considerable if it's a multi-day or multi-meeting hearing. And that would, like Bonnie, I think, alluded to that could run into some, and Diane as well, could run into some quite a bit of expense.
I can't think of a situation in our district's past where there's been a multi-day meeting where legal counsel was required. Certainly, anything could happen. I think we just need to make the best decision that we can this evening, given our needs at this time, rather than, because we don't know for certain what our needs are going to be in the future. If we know that there's something hanging out there that's going to be like the rate study that we had last December, or the rate hearing, then that would be another story. But right now it's pretty much day-to-day stuff.
Couple that with the current situation where we can't even meet in person anyways. So a lot of it, any meeting might be virtual, which would mean less costs as well.
Yeah.
So
I would probably get a quote on that. Just ask the attorneys what they are doing and what they're charging in terms of doing remote consultation too, because that was not listed in anything that I saw.
I don't know if we should.
I think their hourly consultation is going to be the same regardless of whether it's remote or it's in person. If it's in person, they will charge for the time that they're here, and probably the time, in some respects, some charge for the time it takes to get here.
Travel time, right?
Yeah.
Yep, travel.
So the hourly rate is going to be the same unless they assign an associate or a paralegal to whatever the task happens to be at hand.
I would agree, Kathy.
Yeah. There won't be change. I see John submitted this one, and I have worked with John, and he does a lot of remote work. So I've worked with him on Zoom for other things too, where he couldn't be there in person, but was there via Zoom. So he's used to that. But I suspect most attorneys are now.
Yeah, I think they'd be hard pressed to compete otherwise.
Yeah, I'm going to say everybody's probably really highly capable of Zoom or any other meeting style for that matter.
Okay, so I don't see anybody else from the community raising their hands, so can I assume that nobody has any additional comments or questions? Okay, so is anybody from the board willing to make a motion on recommendations? There's one more, right? Well, I think that out of the however many we have, I don't know, was there 4 or 5?
It's like there are 4 in the law group we didn't talk about.
Yeah, but it seems like that out of the 4, 2 popped up, so it was between the 2. I don't know. Did you have an opinion on the others?
Well, I'm thinking from what I see here, that Prentice Long is local, close to local, and a better price.
Right. I think that's the driving factor for Long, and I think for Procopio, I think it was just the experience history, right? So I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion between the 2, or my sense is the consensus is on Long, but does anybody want to make a motion for Long?
Having found our way to them, I don't feel comfortable making the initial motion. So
Do you want to make the motion for Long?
Which one?
For Long, the lowest price one.
Yeah, that's the one Bonnie seems to know the most about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I make a motion that we accept, is it Prentice Long?
Yeah.
Prentice Long Law Firm to be the representative for Christian Valley Park C.S.D. until such point as we determine we want to terminate.
Change, yes. It'll be quick. Do we have a second anywhere? Dan, do you care to second that?
Is he talking?
Bonnie's still on.
Well, yeah.
I am. I was waiting to see if Dan, I'm not sure Dan heard us. Dan, we can't hear you, Dan.
Can you unmute him? Oh, I will unmute him. Okay, go ahead now. Talk, Dan. Oh.
He's muted.
He's muted. Yes, unmute.
Now he's not. Go ahead, Dan.
I see his mouth moving, I think.
I know. Okay. Okay, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea.
Oh, we can't hear him.
Can anybody read his lips?
No.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
If the roles were reversed, he could do it for the rest of.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a second. We're gonna do a roll call vote. Lynn?
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
want me to roll call?
Go ahead, yeah.
Lynn? Okay. Sorry. Kathy?
Aye.
Bonnie?
Aye.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Dan?
Aye.
Oh, good.
Okay,
You heard him.
we heard him, yeah.
And
Aye.
okay.
Okay, so we covered option. Item number 2. Got something done.
Okay.
So moving on to the,
So the job description is in part 1.
Okay, so let me stop this share and bring up part 1, okay?
Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. I'd have realized it, I would have had it already downloaded.
It's just a screen back up Nicole has when she's
Okay, let me share this. Yep. Look at it. You hear it? Do you see it?
I do, thank you.
Welcome.
That's good.
So do you want me to speak to this one, Don?
That would be great, actually.
Okay, so this is, there are 2 job descriptions. I'm going to talk about both of them. The first job description is for general manager, and this description came from actually C.S.D. had a good input into this one. And then I was able to pull up a few job descriptions from other community service districts that had them posted under general manager. And I put it together along with a draft of a job description that Rolando and Don had done. So all of those are combined into this. This is a job description as if it was a full-time position. So you may see things in there that are done once in a great while, but are not done all the time. And this also really focuses on the fact that the general manager is an administrator and not necessarily what we call in the education field classified employees or support employees. So a lot of oversight, working directly with the board, keeping the board advised on everything, overseeing the accounting system, preparing for the annual budget, doing the purchasing, just a lot of overseeing other employees as they pop up or as the board decides to have them, or the organization decides to have them. And then the other piece, again, that really speaks to the work that Don does now, which is the being the liaison between the board and the community and doing community representation and speaking on behalf of the board at public meetings as necessary. So the other piece that's in here that hasn't been a part of the job description for general manager is supervision and evaluation, and that's because we haven't had any other employees. The second piece of this, so those were the general duties that would be found in this position. The second piece of this relates to the general knowledge and performance of the general manager, or the expectation of skills. So these are the expectation of skills that you want your general manager to have. And these are all of those pieces that fit into kind of the composite of the general manager. And the third part is the ability. In other words, what abilities are we looking for? So where this one is a demonstrated knowledge and a skill set, these rely on and relate to the abilities that we expect our general manager to have. And some of them are really generic. You find them in all job descriptions, and other ones are much more specific in the fact that it relates to the needs of the district and or communication or government agencies. The last part of the job description has to do with the physical environment and working environment, which is a requirement for job descriptions. Then we move on to the training and experience. And here is, again, this is a top administrative position. So we expect the education to have a degree from a college or university with work in public administration, looking for somebody possibly with business administration, civil engineering, or a closely related field, or an advanced degree, which is highly desirable but not mandatory. And then the experience is management, because if something happens and we want to take a look at hiring, then we want to say, well, who do we want to hire and what are we looking for when we hire? Certificates, here we put desired versus required. So clearly they have to have a driver's license and a good driving record because they're driving all over the district. But it would be wonderful if our general manager had a notary public. Sometimes we need that, sometimes we don't. And a certificate of, and Don was going to fill in what the name of the certificate is, that he brought that up, and Don, you never gave it to me. So if you could tell me what the name of that certificate is, I can put it in there.
Yeah, I don't know right offhand.
I know, but you're the one that said, okay, we need this one too. And I went, okay, you just didn't give it to me. And again, those are desired, and the job description is not a contract. And I think that's the thing that we really need to be mindful of. This is not a contract with the employee, between the employer and employee. This is a description of the job. So the last piece that's required in a job description is the compliance with American with Disabilities Act. That, again, the statement, it's not an exhaustive list of duties. This is the overall scope, and that Christian Valley Park does not discriminate, and that no person shall be denied employment because of any kind of an impairment. And those are requirements that have to go in. So that's why those are there now. So this is the job description. The job description for administrative assistant clerk.
I have a question. Sorry.
Sure.
So the job description for the manager, it's not limited in any way that it would require a clerk, right?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No. It does. Yeah. Absolutely not.
It's independent. Both of the job descriptions are independent of. Well, this one is independent of the clerk, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So the second job description was, we gave it the title administrative assistant.
So we have that as a separate action item. Do we
Okay.
want to finish the general manager, or do we want to keep going?
Up to you.
Why don't we do that one first?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense. Yeah.
looking at this before we start the comments, one of the things that's on this agenda is, first of all, looking at the job description, and the second piece is looking at the salary schedule that's attached to a job description, because we need to take a look at what is an appropriate salary to pay a person like this. And so I'm going to bring that one up, and it's not attached here.
Right.
But I had it ready to go. Well, because I have to stop the share, why don't we go ahead and talk about this, and then we'll look at the salary schedule.
Okay. So the glance that I did, everything looked good about it. I'm going to ask Dawn, did you see anything that was missing, or did you have any concerns that was different?
No, it's just, there's a lot of stuff.
Right.
And
It goes in pretty good detail, right?
Actually.
Mm-hmm. And again, my other concern was just to make sure that they were independent of each other. Any questions or concerns from anybody on the board?
Well, I looked at it about a month ago when it came out. And I had some questions, and I notified Dawn of a couple of issues that I thought needed to be addressed. And
Specifically.
before I vote on it, I want to have some time to really go over it with a fine tooth comb. I'm not ready to vote on it tonight.
So
I know that's kind of a stick in the mud, but I want to make sure I'm satisfied on what I'm voting for. Otherwise, I abstain.
okay. Any other board members have any comments or?
I've reviewed it a number of times. I've met with Kathy and with Dawn. There's still one little typo down towards the bottom, Kathy. Christian is spelled incorrect way.
Right here.
Yeah, we talked about that before. So
I know, and I didn't correct that.
that's okay. It's still hanging out there.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm comfortable with it as written.
Dan, any comments or questions from you?
I had a chance to look it over. I do have concern about the length of the document. I know we have to cover all the bases and everything. It just seems and I'm sure Dawn is already performing a lot of these duties. I guess this is just spelling them out and the requirements that we would have in order to be compliant. Is that correct, Kathy?
Yeah, this really identifies the true job of a general manager, of which Dawn in pieces and parts is doing a great majority of them. And again, this is not the list as it states here is not the mandatory list. It says these are the things, these are essential duties that they may be asked to do. In other words, it's not, they won't exactly do all those. It depends on the scenario, but these are the things that they may be asked to do. And one of the reasons that you have a job description, so there's that catch-all phrase and other duties as assigned, which comes into the contract piece. But the reason that you have this is so that we're not asking someone to do something that's outside of their scope.
And that's understood. That's understood. Yes.
And that's understood with this too. So it kind of lists the essential duties, and it says including but not limited to. But the scope of this really boils down to being an administrator, being a team member with the board, and really that communicator with the board and the spokesperson for the board, and doing oversight to all of the district business, so that if something needs to get done, it's the general manager's responsibility to ensure that it's done. Not necessarily to do it, just to ensure that it gets done.
That would be a reasonable expectation, I would think, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, because this is the highest level of position in special districts, or in special community districts, and in water districts, in public districts, is the general manager. The only one higher would be an executive director or CEO, and nobody has that at this level.
Okay. So any other questions from the board or comments from the board? Okay.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, comments from the board? I want to open it up to the community. Is there anybody? I think everybody spoke already, so I think we're good moving on to the community. Anybody from the community? And please speak up, because the view that I have doesn't show me everybody's name.
I think I saw Greg Bala.
Oh,
Greg?
I just signaled a typo to you, Bonnie. Just it said community. That's all. There, under general operations and functions.
I'll go back and correct those.
Okay.
This is a PDF, so I can't correct it right now.
Okay. Doesn't sound like there's any comments or questions, so.
Yeah, the only thing I do want to point out is in the top of the job description, you have the title, you have who the supervisor is, and it's really important to note that the general manager reports directly to the board of directors. So the class group, the group that he works for, or person works for, is the managerial group. FLSA status means overtime, and this category is exempt from overtime.
Would it be, now that you pointed that out, wouldn't it be important to call out that maybe they report to the president? Simply because it sounds like he could be getting multiple directions from 5 different people. And then he's, well, who am I taking direction from? And he should have someone that should be able to deal with that problem.
We can do that, but typically there are governance agreements that are done on the board, and my hope is to bring that forward, to do that board governance agreements that says the first and direct contact for the general manager is the board president. But I'm happy to put it in here if you want me to.
I just bring it up just because, you know.
No, I totally get it.
No.
Yeah.
I'd like to have that as well, and that's just because that's kind of what I know, what I'm comfortable with from city government. So
I'll add that. I'll just put, I'll put president, board of directors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Don, do you have a printer in here?
Mm-hmm.
Can you print me a copy of that?
Okay, so now I'm going to stop this share really quickly and go on to, see if I can bring it up here. Why do I have so many?
You know what?
do we not need to take action on that piece before we go on to something else?
I'm just going to bring up the salary because the item, which can be split into 2 parts if you want to, but the item is approval of the job description and the corresponding salary schedule.
Okay.
So that's why I just want to bring it up. If you want to separate it out, you can do that.
No, I got you.
Okay. So now let me share this one. See if I can. All right, two things here. So there are 2 screens that I'm going to be flipping back and forth. The first one was the salary study that I did. And I tried to limit it as best I could to comparable districts. I started with Placer County, and there weren't very many, I think maybe 1 comparable district within Placer County. So then I changed my look and what I was doing, and this was from the government public compensation page, because there wasn't, I went to the CSDA and they were happy to have me enter the data in, but they wouldn't give me the data from the other districts that have entered data. And I thought, well, that's tacky. So I went back to this one. So then I started comparing by, number 1, the number of employees and the number of board members. So what you see here is every district that's listed over here. Here's the county it's in. Here are the titles. And here are the number of employees, not county board members. And then this is the number of board members here. Then I put down the services. The one thing I couldn't find without going too much in depth is the number of clients, because I thought that would be important. So you see I started there but didn't. And then the total compensation. And some of the total compensation for these positions had to do with part-time. Some of them were full-time. And it was really tough to make that distinction or that jump between, okay, do I do a salary schedule on part-time or do I salary schedule on full-time? So Don and Bonnie and I sat a couple of different times and we tried to go over the amount of time in general that Don spends if this were a full-time position, how much of it would he really be working? And we came up with about 35%, 35 to 40%, but it still became incredibly difficult to take these numbers that you see here and move it into a 35 or 40%. So you'll see what I did when I went back, but this gives you an idea. So for example, Tulare County, Allensworth Community Service District in Tulare County, which is water and other, which is what we're described as, water and other, has 1 employee and 3 board members, and they pay $4,583 for clerical only. They don't have a general manager. This one is, the title here is a water operator, and they have 5 board members, 2 employees, so they have 2 water operators, and each one is paid $25,000. So as you go down, and hopefully Don, you sent this to everybody so that they have it. But this becomes the study, so that when we do a contract, this will be the study that we use to justify why we're paying what we're paying. Some titles, plant manager, you'll see where it was GM here. And so going back up to this one in Fresno, this one was Big Creek Community Service District in Fresno County. It's a general manager and a water distribution operator, so they have 2 employees, and they do streets, water, and maintenance, and they pay $7,200. It's a part-time job, and then they pay their water distribution operator $4,505. Taking a look at all that, and this is us right here. And this includes the meter reader position. So the total of the 2 salaries is actually $46,299, but I wanted it broken apart depending on how we do business at a later point. So you can see the distinction between meter reader, which is not part of the general manager's job, that's paid extra, and the base salary of $42,299. This also includes,
Kathy, I believe, and Don, Don can correct me, but we chatted the other day. Meter reading is currently $1,200 a quarter. Is that correct, Don?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not, so it's not.
Higher than that. Well, and again, the information that I had was as of December 2018, so it's a year old, a year and a half old already.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it only gets reported annually, and they're already a year behind. So, but this gives you that general idea.
Sure.
So now, using this information, what I did is I went back through to take a look at what an appropriate salary schedule looks like. So here I've got the position listed, and I said all salaries are listed for part-time work. The percent can be recalibrated as workload increases. Actuals will be listed in the approved contract. So again, this doesn't finalize the amount that the employee gets, but this is the target from which you draw, so that if you're adding other jobs to it, it gets added in, if that makes sense. And I will change the meter reader one because I didn't know that. I did a 3% increase, and unlike education, the public generally doesn't get a raise every year. And so I made the increments 3% over 2-year spans instead, so that every 2 years that the person is in the position, you can see what it looks like. And then I did it out for 10 years and then 11 plus here. And so here's where Don's salary is currently at $42,299, which incidentally is very competitive with everybody else that looks like our district size for the amount of work for general manager, not for meter reading, not for other stuff. And then on here, for the meter reader, I put mileage not included. So this one, where I built it out to $4,000, I can change this one. And we don't have this one for action anyway today. I just put it up there. But you can see where I started at $35,251, which is higher than some of the other competitive districts. I started us higher, and I did that so I could get to the current salary. So just as an awareness piece. This again is not the contract. This is the salary schedule. So every time you decide to give an increase to the salary schedule, all these numbers change, but then you can generally give that increase. And this way, whenever you bring someone in, you can pick the years of experience and then what level they're starting at, if that makes sense. So any of you that's worked in the public sector, you recognize this.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and this does not include benefits because we're below 50% or 45%, depending on the organization.
So the pay rate that you're proposing is the current pay rate then, correct?
That's right. And if you go back and look at this, you'll see why. And because here is the current pay rate, $42,299. And again, not including the add-ons that we do. This is the base pay.
Right.
Glenn County is $22,880. This is a full-time. In Orange County, this is a full-time position at $99. And they only have the one employee, but he's full-time.
Okay, thank you.
This one here in Plumas County, and so these are not all the positions that this person occupies. These are the different positions. So for instance, this in Plumas County, and this is Hamilton Branch, they have 3 employees: the general manager, the chief operator, and the secretary. So those get paid $35,495, $35,316, and $22,062.
That's FTE, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the one that was in, here's Heather Glen, which is considerably smaller than we are. I agree. They have 2 employees. They have a secretary, and then they have the water maintenance person. And so they pay $14,347, and that's for the secretary. And I didn't put the water maintenance, and I apologize for that. But it gives you that ballpark. So here is, for example, in this one, Madison, which is a general manager and a grade 1 operator. And here I must have been adding them together because I know that that's also a part-time one, but this could be full-time too. $62,415. I would have to go back and look it up. But a lot of it is dependent on the percent of the contract too. This is a full-time position here. This is Midway Heights. Wait. They have 3 positions in Midway Heights, which is also Placer County. They have a general manager, a field manager, and a maintenance person. They do water and other. They have 3 employees that they work with there. And the general manager is full-time at $93,090. The field manager, which my guess is going to be probably similar to the independent contractor, the contract that we have with Gerry, is $72,692. And then the maintenance person is $42,000. So that gives you the ballpark, and so these kind of arrive at the numbers. Here in Glen, their part-time was $22,000. In Plumas, they didn't have a general manager; they just had operators. El Dorado County, they had 33, started at 33, and then this one at 35. So you can see why I started where I started. This one, Lake, was 25.
So
and then again, go, yeah.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with Google spreadsheets so much, but is there a way you can do filters on the columns?
Yes, if I had dropped this into Excel, I could do it super easy. I was trying to do that. I can close up the columns if you want me to. You want me to do that?
Well, I'm just, basically we got a lot of apples and oranges, right? So I was thinking, is it possible to just identify the water districts that we know as water and the ones that have the same number of general managers and
the number of board members, just to narrow down.
Well, that's kind of what I did here. Almost all of these, with the exception of the, yeah, I can do that. I don't know if it'll let me organize by this one. No, see, I can download it and put it into Excel. But the majority of these, for example, this one in Plumas doesn't have a general manager, and it's got 4 board members and 4 employees. So the rest of them are 5 board members. This one is 3 board members, and it doesn't have a general manager. It just has an administrative assistant, and it's got 2 employees. Here's a general manager with another employee, and an operator, 5 board members. This one was interesting, this one in Merced, because rarely do you have 6 board members. You always want to be off. And I'm looking at that in 6. Well, they must really get along well. But that's water plus sewer.
Or it was a typo.
So when it says everything here, it means everything. But if you see, like this one in Tulare was water, sewer, and waste. Well, we don't deal with sewer and waste, so I understand that. So sometimes those general managers are going to be a little bit higher. But the ones that were just water, this is a water park manager. So this one is probably closer to ours in Amador County. Water and other is what we are. And you'll see that with this one. We're water, roads, and sometimes I wrote other and sometimes I wrote roads. This is water, parks, and lighting, fire, streets, maintenance, and water. And this was the Plumas with the operators. And so each operator had a different task. Streets and water maintenance, streets, water, and maintenance. And that's kind of what I assumed we were, but I wrote it in the order that I saw it on the website. That's why it doesn't always look identical. But again, that's identical to what we're doing there. Oh, that's us. Oh no, this is us right here. So they pay their general manager $7,200. So that's why it's like, okay, I discounted the super low and the super high they were full-time, and typically it had part-time listed by it, or it didn't have anything. And so the ones that were like from 60,000 on up were full-time for the most part. So the 42, again, the 42, and Dawn and Bonnie and I have talked about this, realizing that the 42,000 is high mid-range, but it's high. So it's on the high end of where others for the same position are located. Probably more comparable to some of the ones in Southern California than in Northern California, but so be it. And again, this is not his contract, this is salary. So when I came back over here, I started at what I classified as a mid-range and went higher to get to the 42,299.
Bonnie, anything you would like to add about this?
No, I appreciate the way that it was all laid out. I've seen some of this before, but not all of it. And again, just like when we were talking about, the attorney question, it's not apples and apples, it's apples and kumquats in this case. But I think it's the best that we can do. And I think we've done a really thorough job and given it a lot of attention. And so
yeah, the only thought I have, I didn't see Meadow Vista in there, right? Because their information is available, and they're twice as big, but I think you can divide by 2.
Hey, sweetheart.
And get a comparison as well. So that would be some
730.
Right. So and it gets, you have to dice it like twice or 3 times, right? I think when I did this last time, I looked at number of customers. I looked at revenue. So if an organization makes X amount of revenue, their salary was X amount.
Okay, can you see this screen that I have up right now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, these are the special districts in Placer County.
Okay, so Christian Valley doesn't show up in there?
Nope, Christian Valley's not here.
yeah, we're number 2. Meta Vista is not here.
I don't think it's called a community service district.
Okay.
So I tried to get, and that's why you'll see a lot of this, except for like the resort improvement district, doesn't really apply. When you look at the employees, here the employees refer to board members and employees. So I had to dig a little deeper. Like if you look at Auburn Community Services District, and of course they don't pay anything at all. But if you look at Auburn Valley Community Services District, and I'm going to open this in a new tab, and then we'll go to the tab. And now you see that there are 5 employees that they list. And so when you go down to see what the employees are, they're just board members. They don't have anybody there.
Right.
I think we need to be super mindful of the job and what is happening on the job. And again, this is not the contract. This is the base salary. And we are very competitive. Looking at these salaries right now, we are very, very competitive.
Can you go back to the previous screen? Can you filter here for minimum 5 and maximum 5?
On this, on employees? No, because the employees, you have to count the board members. The way this website does it is they count the board members to it.
Okay,
So for example, 8 for Midway Heights,
Yes.
you look at 8. Let's look at 8.
Oh, right. Can we just filter out for 6 and
Okay. Well, we have this one. Oh, I can't filter this one down. I tried that several times.
it looks like you can right up on top there. So if you just put minimum 6.
I'll do it again, but I thought when I did this the first time, it just, okay. So now we go to the right page. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now you have the McKinney Water District, you have Christian Valley Park Community Services District, and you have the resort in here.
Are there more? If you scroll up, do more show up?
No, that's it.
Oh, I thought I saw more. Okay, so this is the total showing 21 to 30 of the 42 entries. It says there's 42 entries. Oh, because the number of
you have to go to the next page. But these are, again, these are different counties and these are 6s.
Yeah.
So here's a community service district in Shasta with 6 that is 24,000. Butte Irrigation is one of them that we put down there. And again, this also includes any board member stipends that are involved in here too. Trinity County Waterworks, no. Three Rivers Community Service District was included in the one I did. And then the next one is Tulare Teapot Dome Water District and the sanitation. So I, you know, as much as I understand kind of the questions that you're asking and what you did before, what I did is I dialed it into specifically community service districts and looked at the pay for community services districts and started with a mid-range pay for part-time work and brought it up to what we have now. I can go higher if you want, but I think we need to be mindful of the amount that we're paying the employees and the percentage that we're putting into payment of employees versus payment of services.
No, I don't think that what I was just looking at is like the criteria. Like I said, it's hard to compare apples to apples, and that's why I just wanted to see more of the different types there.
Yep.
When I did it, I tried to do it. Okay, so based on this information, I get this much. Based on this other criteria, I got this much, and it was pretty. It sort of averaged out, if you will, or it washed to where it made sense from. And I can't remember if I used the third criteria. It was revenue, customers, and I can't remember what the third. But then I was able to see if you compare all these things, the 3 numbers I get are within this area, and that's how I got.
Yeah, and that's fine too. I tend to take a look at the listing on the district. So because the concepts were around the district, I can do more. It took a long time to do this.
No, it's just, I wanted to understand more about what your process was is all.
Yeah, and again, my process was to start with as community service districts, and if I couldn't find enough of those, at least districts that handled the same kind of services that we seem to handle. So I was trying to put it like that. The one thing I don't have is the size, but my assumption is that those that are paying more from the, let me go back to this, those that are paying more from in this arrangement here for the higher level, for example, the water manager at 38,493 probably had more clients than the one who was paying 7,200.
Yeah.
This is a basic guess. And that's why I didn't go that low. That's why I really started it at this number right here in Plumas, because that seemed to be very similar to us, except that they have 3 employees instead of just the 1 or the 2.
I had my hand up, but I was just going to say, I would imagine that some of those districts, if you called, some of those employees may have had certain training and certifications that brought their salaries up as well.
I tried to go for each one of these. I tried to go to their website to see what they had so I could get more information. And it was amazing the number of the websites that didn't have their job descriptions or didn't have their budget or their number of clients that they serve on there. I mean, all of them had their budget, but it was amazing the differences in what you found.
Well, that'll be a landmine for out of compliance, huh, for websites.
Well, they'll be bringing it into, I mean, the budget, yeah, but but yeah, it was amazing what I found. I was pretty impressed. I've learned a lot over this process, let me tell you. So.
Me too.
So the reason that you approve a job description with and a salary schedule at the same time is so that you know what your expectation is. This doesn't mean that this can't change, because typically speaking, whenever you decide to give a raise, now you have a baseline where you can say, okay, you know, cost of living went up 1.2% and we haven't given a raise for 2 or 3 years. So this person's at the height of the salary schedule. Let's put, you know, 3% on the salary schedule. But you don't just do that category, you do it all, so that it gives you the guidance and you don't have to, it's not a hit or miss. It's not what we say arbitrary and capricious. It really, there's a system for how you place people on the salary schedule and what salary they get. So it gives you that guidance.
Any other questions?
Hey, Kathy, did you happen to check with Gerry to see if he had any input on any other districts that might have be similar in size to ours, that he may have had information on?
No, didn't occur to me to check with him. That's why I went to the website that we have to report to, because
I understand. I just wondered if he may have some insight into some districts that are similar in size to ours that would have similar functions that he may be aware of.
I posed that question to him before when I did the analysis, and he really couldn't. He just said it seems like everything's very different.
Yeah, everybody does it. They all do it kind of differently, but there seems to be some consistency along the way. I just haven't figured out what the formula is yet.
Some algorithm, right?
Well, I can definitely tell you did a heck of a lot of work on this. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you, Kathy.
So this item then would be you're approving. I'm pointing as if you could see what I'm doing. That if you approve the job description, you're also approving that line. And again, that's base salary. That doesn't include all of the other stuff that goes with it. That stuff gets written into a contract, which will take up, once we have a job description and a salary schedule, then the next meeting will take up contract. And that's when the board can have a full-on discussion about how they want the contract to look and what it needs to be inside of it.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Are we ready to call for the question?
Yeah, well, I think I called for questions across.
No, I mean call for the question.
Yeah, do we need a motion? Is that okay?
Okay, I will move to approve the job description for Christian Valley Park General Manager position and the recommended salary schedule with that, for that, as presented.
For administration.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second from the folks that are online? Yeah, I'll second the motion.
So what's our motion again that we,
So the motion is to,
go to year one starting today?
no. The motion is to approve the job description, which you had issue with, along with this schedule, which basically gives us our current date salary as the range for the job.
Okay, and then 42 is what we're gonna go with as of today.
Which is, yeah, so,
Yeah.
yes,
Chances are, but we're not talking contract yet.
yeah. So that's what the job.
That will be the next meeting. We talk
Right.
that.
And this simply tells us what we're doing right now, right, Kathy?
Yeah. This, what, right now we are paying $42,299.
Right.
And so, yeah, but this is the range. So if you were getting a beginning person, it would be 35 to 51. And again, remember, this is part-time. This is not the full salary.
Correct.
So we're approving the range, not Dawn's contract, not Dawn's salary. We're approving the
Right.
range for that position, if that
Right.
helps.
And this is base.
Okay, so we have a motion. You want to do a roll call vote?
We have to because it's money.
Yeah, talking to Don. So.
Okay, Bonnie,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Lynn,
No, based on the job description,
so Lynn kicks.
abstain of whatever you want to call us.
Abstain, you're going with abstain or no?
Pardon?
Abstain or no?
No. Well, what's the difference? Well,
You abstain because you don't vote.
Yeah. So, okay, and
So what would it be? No?
well, I think he said earlier he would abstain because he hadn't had an opportunity to
Okay.
review the job description and the detail
Right.
that he wanted. So he's not necessarily against it because he doesn't know it, I think is what he got.
But it wouldn't matter if it passes.
Yeah, right.
Right, and then rely.
Aye.
In
Okay.
regards to Dawn's salary, two questions. Remember about 5 years ago, you wanted like a 15% increase or 12% increase. And you said, if I get this, then I won't ask for anything for 5 years.
It
Do you
was
remember
five-
when that was?
It was 3 years, and it was.
Oh, it's way gone then. That's way over with. It's more than 3 years ago.
Well, and again, this is not
This
his
is
contract.
This is
Yeah.
a position.
I understand. But I'm just
This-
saying,
Yeah.
that was more for my
Right.
memory. The other issue I have, and it's, I guess it's not a big issue, but when it first came up that Dawn would get extra money for reading the meters, I was kind of against that, and I still have questions about it because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would estimate that you spend, when it's the end of the quarter, that you spend 3 nights after school for 3 hours, roughly.
Takes about 3 days to read all
Yeah,
of
but,
those.
but on school days, you're only
I read
doing
them
like
on-
3 hours.
Well, I'll read it on like the weekend,
Yeah, and then,
and
so,
then about
okay, well, stay with
2
me.
or 3 days.
So let's say 3
after school.
days, 3 days for 3 hours a night after school. Okay. So 3 times 3 is 9. Okay. All day Saturday's 8. 8 and 9, 17. And then let's say 6 hours on Sundays, 23. Okay, you divide 23 into how much you're charging. You're making $60 an hour to read the meters. And I'm not sure we can't hire somebody to do it a lot cheaper than that. Not that it's going to be better. I'm just saying from a dollar standpoint, that seems like a lot of money. I don't know.
Okay.
And that was why I questioned it back then, and I'm still, a little leery of that. That just seems like that should be part of the job.
Well, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about his contract and what the contract entails, because that's why this is separated out, so that the salary, I'm pointing again, I'm so used to having a screen in front of me. This one right here, and I'm fixing these for you. This line item is the base salary. It doesn't include any of the extras at this point in time. When we look at contract, that's when we'll look at those kinds of things. Okay.
So I think what she's saying too is that we're not looking at the meter reading right now.
No, we're not.
What's
We
the
don't even have a job description for the meter reading yet.
second line?
The second line is, I think it's the next item, which I think we can move on to now, item number 4, which is, it started out with a recommendation from an attorney and the work that we were doing to get us help for Don and get him a secretary. So I think what's going to happen now, similar to what Kathy did right now, she's going to review the proposed job description for I'm sorry, what's the title?
Well, the title we came up with was administrative assistant clerk, because it would be, there's a combination of things that entails. And so if you'll bear with me for a minute or two, let me bring it up.
So she's going to review the job description, and then we're going to come back and look at the salary for that.
But common sense to me means if we're paying Don to do all the things he does, $42,000 base salary, if you will, and then we hire 2 people to take over some of the work that he's been doing. Okay, that's essentially what we're doing, right?
Well, I'm not clear.
Eventually.
I'm sorry, Lynn, I don't understand what you mean by 2.
No, I'm just saying, if we pay Don easy to understand numbers, let's say we pay Don $40,000 a year to do X amount of work that's in his job description. And then we turn around and we hire 2 people, a webmaster and a secretary, to relieve some of the work that Don does. Then should that salary come out of his salary? Or are we going to pay him what we've always paid him, that he doesn't do the same amount of work?
And that's a discussion that we're going to have when we do his contract. That's a discussion starter that we'll have when we do his contract, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the schedule in general. Once we get the job descriptions done and the salary schedules done, then the next step is to be able to discuss the contract itself. Okay, and all the components of it and what it entails. And just for your purposes, there is a closed session item in Brown Act called employee employment piece, and we will be in closed session with that one to discuss it, so that the board can have an open and honest discussion before it comes back out to open session.
Okay, so let's get back to the motion.
Okay.
There's no motion.
Well, I thought there was a motion made.
It's already made and done.
That's done.
You already did the roll call.
So I'm not upset about salary, Don's worth every nickel he gets. And the others passed anyway, so.
What's the other?
Let's go to the other next item.
Yeah, now we're talking about the second position.
The second position, we called it administrative assistant clerk. And again, This was put together using samples from CSBA and other positions that I found online in community service districts.
Oh,
And this one, Dawn and Bonnie and I have reviewed and gone through. The same thing applies to this one that applied to the general manager. The difference here is that if you look at class group, it is clerical, and the supervisor becomes the general manager. And this status is non-exempt, meaning that this is an hourly employee, although there's a salary range for that person. It also means that that range will be determined during the contract piece. And this is a non-exempt, means they qualify for overtime. So just so that you know, but in a part-time position, it's tough to get overtime. So this is a part-time position, but this job is written as if it was a full-time position. Okay. This one, these are the responsibilities and duties, again, that you typically find in a position like this. So really the clerical side of the district. And that's what this one is. You directing phone calls to Dawn, but managing the inventory, doing inventory control, doing scheduling meetings, maintaining the records of the business transactions and having them accessible. And this is particularly important when we get our the public records requests, because we have to have them accessible. And at a later point, I'm going to bring up again my request to have a shed, but not right now. But then these are the different things. Now, this position has been embedded into what Don has been required to do. So he's really been serving in a couple positions. He's been serving as the general manager, but he's had more duties aligned to this position in the day-to-day affairs of, or the week-to-week, depending on how you want to look at it, of the district itself. So this is a clerical position. We require organization, time management, communication, basic bookkeeping, interpersonal skills, and then written and verbal communication skills. And here's where your ability to use word processors, do stock inventory, make independent decisions as necessary, communicate and collaborate with the general manager and clients on a regular basis. And here client refers to community members. Ability to organize and priority and to use the software, whatever we happen to use, to be able to use that. Work environment, and notice that this one is a whole lot smaller than the general manager was. The work environment here, the ability to sit and sit for extended periods of time, to do data entry, to see and read a computer screen, and then to speak so that others can understand them and use the telephone. When we were picking up boxes, we decided that needed to have the ability to lift 25 pounds of paper and so on. Here, the education is significantly different, only requires a high school diploma or GED, but a graduation from an appropriate vocational school or a certificate program is desired here. Experience, this was 3 years of experience as an administrative assistant or secretary with some bookkeeping experience. And again, this is listed as desired, not mandatory, because you want to be able to hire the perfect person, and they might be short one of these. But if everything goes together and fits the mold about what we're looking for, then it works. The certificate or licenses or registrations, and I see I need to do some more formatting here, so sorry about that. The possession of a California driver's license, and then the notary public is desired on this one as well. It's just nice if someone in the district has a notary public for certain things that have to be notarized. You'll see these are the exact 3 paragraphs that were in the other one because they're required. And then, that's a conflict of interest. Sorry, went too far. Okay, that was it. So again, this is a clerk position, an assistant to the general manager. And this person would, if you go back up and take a look here, there should have been, oh, here we are. Attend board meetings and act as secretary to the board. So one of the duties of this person would be to attend the board meetings and do the secretary to the board, but then to respond to board requests as appropriate. So again, there's that connection with the board, but again, working with the general manager.
How many hours a week are we proposing?
We're not proposing any hours a week right now. This was as if this was a
This is,
full-time
Lynn, this is
position.
just a job description.
Right. We haven't gotten into that, but in the salary schedule, I put a 35% so that it's per month instead. So we're looking at maybe 35% of the contract per month. So if you look at, what is it, 160 hours a month, and 35% of that would be the monthly time. And I'm not great at math, so I'll let somebody else figure that one out.
The only reason why I ask is it seems to me that the job description should list how many hours, X amount of hours a week or X amount of hours a month. And then that's of course flexible, but to start.
The contract does that. That's why you have a contract which specifies the number of hours per week or the number of hours per month and the explicit components that they are going to be doing out of this job description. That's what the contract does.
Does that make sense, Lynn?
So the proposal, what's the proposal going to be? That the job description is going to list hours as required, as needed?
No, the job description is what you're seeing in front of you. So the job description basically just talks about the skills and abilities that the person doing the job that it's written for is required to have. And then the basic duties that that person would be expected to perform. So your skills, and then what we're going to have that person do. And then the number of hours that it might take, and the salary is outside of the job description itself.
And the actual identified hours and the starting salary is determined by the contract, which doesn't take place tonight.
Basically, we're leaving that.
Right.
The
That's
amount of
exactly
work
right.
required. We don't know what that's going to be, right?
No.
Right.
So this is the beginning. So are we okay? Can I move on to the salary schedule for this one?
Is there any questions from the community?
The only thing I would say to Lynn is that basically what they're saying is for each title, what that title entails in order to have that title, that's all they're really working on at this moment. If that's any more clear to you. I yield with that.
Anyone else? Okay, let's move on into the.
Okie dokie. And let's see if I can bring it up with a straight share. Did it come up? Yes.
There it is.
Success. Okay, so I'm going to go to this one first. This one you've seen already. What you need to do is you need to look down this side where it says clerical and look at the number of employees and the number of board members and what they do. So this is a clerical that wasn't a big one. Let me see if I can get this so that I have it. There we go. So this number was 4,000 and something. So don't know how many hours per month. I would have to find that out. And before we do a contract, we'll find stuff like that out. Here is Butte has a secretary as their second person. And so if you look at, let me see if I can, oh, there we go. I'll move that over to the other side. And so that, where was that now?
You're on the line 6.
There we go. And so that person there, that person was paid $9,500. And again, this was a year and a half ago too. So same thing we were looking at before. Down here, chief operator and secretary. This secretary made $22,062. This secretary was first and made $14,000. This is an administrative assistant that was at $24,000. This was an office manager, which is often called an administrative assistant, but usually an office manager has other people they supervise, and that was $10,800. Here's another office manager that was $9,544. And that was it. So
my point is this, if we're talking about clerical, right?
Yep.
And you bring this chart up here and it shows how much money these various people are making. There's no reference to how much time they're putting in, so it has no meaning.
You're right. And that's one of the things that we have to look at because it doesn't report it that way. So that's what I went to the website and I made calls. It's amazing how people don't call you back. What I did was I did the same kind of thing, and you'll figure out the hourly rate based on what the percentage becomes at this point in time. So what I did was I started here at figuring, okay, 35% of a contract would be roughly in the neighborhood of $12,191, and moving up the same way to a maximum of $14,347. And again, this is the 35%, and that was using the highs and the lows that we saw for the secretary, the clerk, the others. For this position, which is a little different than a general manager, I also looked a little bit outside of this, and I took a look at what office managers and or administrative assistants in the surrounding Placer County areas were making on a full-time basis, and they were running, between 30 and 50,000 for the same thing, which is how I determined that one, because the position of office manager, the position of administrative assistant clerical is relatively standard. There are the same duties that it doesn't really matter what the organization, they are the same duties that you're doing. So it's easier to find that description and find that salary there. But I also got this range from C.S.D, who said, here's the general range for this position, which they didn't do for general manager, and I wish they had, but they didn't do that. So this is how I selected this salary schedule. Now, what we would have to do, and Lynn, this is kind of to help you a little bit, what we would have to do is to say, if we started somebody at 35%, what was 35% of a full-time position, and how many days, how many hours would that be, and drop it down to what would the hourly rate be from there. So we would have more work to do at that point in time, but we would start with the range and drop it down. So if our expectation is they work 15 hours a month, then we would know what we're paying by the hour at that point in time, if that makes sense. There's just more math to do here, and I didn't feel like doing it personally.
Well, to me, I look at all of that and it's all hypothetical. If we hire a clerk, a clerical person, and they're half-time, 20 hours a week, okay, and we pay the going rate for a well-qualified secretary, $20, 20 hours a week, then now we have a solid figure on how much it's going to cost us a year or a month. So until we know how much work is going to be involved.
So let me try to do the math for you.
We're just guessing.
So it's not, there is a method to this madness, I think, if I can call that. So if you look at that, she says 35%, right?
Of what?
Of a full-time person. So if a full-time person works 40 hours a week for 52 weeks, they make, it's something like, I just did the math, but I don't get that number. You get X amount of hours, 2,000 something maybe, or?
Right.
And then you
35% of 40 is 14 hours.
Well, no, but she has the annual rate there, so we have to do it by annual.
Yeah, I did it kind of in reverse.
Yeah.
But this isn't just hypothetical. This gives us a jumping off point. There's more calculations that we have to do.
So 35% of a full-time, that's less than half of a works week. The rate turns out to be $19.70 an hour. Yeah. That's what that rate is.
I don't see where 35% has anything to do with it. If a person is a qualified clerical person and they're working half-time, they should get half of what they were working if they were working full-time.
How much would that be?
We don't know.
Well, we do. We're saying $20 an hour. So
a piece of this may be that
I could have done it an hourly rate there. Yeah. It probably would have been better to do this one as an hourly rate. I can go back and convert each one of those to an hourly rate if you want me to, or somebody else can do it for me, which I would really appreciate.
Yeah. And then the 35% comes from the fact that we discussed that Don's full-time equivalency, if you will, is about 35%. He's not working, full-time job. So we need to start with what a full-time equivalency would pay and then figure out what 35% of that would be. And that's where this is applied to both of those positions.
Right. And that's why I did it that way.
I hope that makes sense. It may not, but.
Well, I had two choices. I could either get the full-time salary and put it up there and have everybody panic when they saw the amount.
Right, exactly,
or,
yeah.
Or I could put what the approximate amount per year would be for that salary if it was 35%. And the reason the 35%, thank you for clarifying that, Bonnie, is that if the general manager is working approximately 35%, you would expect that the administrative assistant would be working that amount too. Correct. At a minimum that amount. There could be more, but we don't know that yet because this is a brand new position for us.
Can I just clarify? So the clerical, to understand it correctly, you were saying that would be an hourly versus the general manager or administrative would be a salary.
I think that's undetermined. Is that correct? Whether it's going to be an hourly or
clerically, if it, the rule of thumb for overtime is if it's under 50,000 a year, it's and it's not management, then it's hourly.
Right. Okay.
So this would be an hourly, but what it did was it was a composite. So this is what would be what the annual would look like. However, the contract would be broken down by the hourly pay.
Gotcha. Does that help, Lynn, or confuse things more?
It still doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay.
Here's an example. Diane, you're working for a company, you're a full trained, qualified clerical person, and you're working 40 hours a week. And Bonnie comes on board and they hire her for 20 hours a week. And she's every bit as qualified as you are and doing the exact same amount of work. And you're only going to pay her 35% of what Diane makes.
Because she's working 35%.
No. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, I was just going to say, no, the 35% indicates the amount of time she'll be working. It's not that we're only, we're ducking our duties and only paying 35% of a full-time contract. It's that this position right now is perceived to only be a 35% position. It's not a full-time position. And here's where we're looking at the difference between 40 hours a week and whatever 25, so 18 or 17 hours, whatever the 35% means.
14.
Okay, so what's the bottom line? The bottom line is if we hire somebody, they're going to make it, they're going to cost us $12,000 a year or $15,000 a year or whatever.
Yeah, between 12 to 15.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
Well, a maximum of 15 would be what we're assuming. And it just depends on how qualified they are. It also depends ultimately on how many hours they work, right? But the hourly rate based on the highest number is $20 an hour.
Right.
Right, and this is the range that we're saying. This is the range for the expected work that they're going to be doing, that they will get.
So why are we even talking about it? Because we're going to put it in the compensation.
Well, we have to have a schedule to draw from so that we're not arbitrarily assigning an amount because we like the person or because we don't like the person. You know, we could be sued by not being consistent about how we hire and how we offer salary.
Whatever. Seems to me we're wasting a lot of time talking about something we really don't have enough information to make it worth the time, because we don't know how much work we're going to do.
That's the next step. This is the first step. Getting this is the first step. The next step is to determine the number of hours and draw up a contract and actually hire somebody to do it. We don't have a person to do it yet either.
Any other questions from anybody or concerns? So I'm going to share kind of my concern with this as I've been thinking about it more and more and thinking about kind of the current state of the district. The first thought that I have is that when this first was brought up to the table, it was basically just to get someone to help at the board meetings, to take notes during the board meeting and maybe to work on the newsletter, because that's what was determined at the time that was needed. And that was what this was brought up with. So this has grown into significantly more than that, which might be where the district needs to go. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying it's different than where we started. We didn't talk much about that rationalization for why we made that jump, and maybe we need to, or maybe we don't care. I don't know, but I'm struggling a little bit with how we got to this point where we're actually considering hiring a second person. And then the reason why it's concerning to me is because when we took on, and I wasn't around for when they did the rate study for the tank project, but I was around for the second rate study, and it was based on X amount of salary expenses that we were going to have. And that salary expense did not include a second person on the team, from what I remember and understand. So we're adding additional resource, what seems very likely to me, an additional cost that was never accounted for. So what I mean by that is, where are we getting the money to pay for this? Because if you look at our rate study, how much money we were going to make versus how much money we're going to pay, we were doing really well for the last 6 years, and we have a lot in the coffer. But moving forward, things are going to get a little tight once we have to pay the loan amounts. And the rate study and our model, financial model way back then, didn't include this additional expense, which I think originally I thought, well, it's going to be an expense for just some temporary work to take minutes and notes to type up for the meeting minutes and so forth. So I'm struggling with basically the addition of a whole nother resource to the organization, and the implications of that. I'm not saying necessarily that it may not be warranted. I think there might be some reason to warrant it, but I just don't know that we have the money to do it. And we've been working for many years with just the one person, and we've never did a rate study to add additional people and what it would cost, and if we can actually afford it over the long term with the current rate structure that we have.
If I could respond to that, I totally understand what you're saying, and I want you to understand, and the board to understand in general, that adopting this doesn't mean that we're implementing it. This is giving us the opportunity to do what we want to do with an extra person. And in the budget that we adopted, we actually embedded in the personnel part a salary to include an extra person. However, having said that, it's up to the board, if we hire somebody extra, how many hours they work and what the cost is going to be, so that the salary schedule is based on 35%, but if we only need a 10% person, clearly that goes down. So maybe what this needs to show is an hourly rate instead of the annual rate. But approving a job description and a salary schedule gives us the opportunity to hire as we choose. versus waiting to get this done so that then we can hire. This just puts us in line to do that.
I just want to say, I understand, Rolando, exactly what your concerns are. And I had some of those concerns during our budget meeting when we were increasing a number of different line items. However, we did. And as Kathy just mentioned, because the money's in the budget and because we created this job description and salary range, which could be modified to be presented as an hourly rate, doesn't mean it has to be implemented or implemented right away or implemented in full. And that's that's the beauty of having the job description as written. So someone coming in to help with the minutes to the newsletter and, maybe some other tasks could be where Dawn needs someone to start, and perhaps over time that could grow or not. But I think it's what's more than a placeholder. But I think it's, we budgeted for it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it may take some pressure off of Dawn, particularly with respect to minutes and some of the really clerical kinds of things that he does that could be done more easily by somebody else.
And again, approving the job description and the salary does not mean hiring. It means now we have the ability to do what we want to do as we move forward, depending on what the pleasure of the board is.
May I interject for just a second?
Basically,
Basically,
it's just saying, if we do, they have these abilities.
basically, what the job description is simply outlining the duties and the things that we'd like to see that this person be able to do. Okay, then once we've identified those things, then we can go back and we can look at our rate structure and our other things and say, okay, do we have the ability to pay for this? And if we do, how much can we pay? And how many hours can we devote to this? We may have to pare this way down because, it could be very expensive. And the other part of it is if you're going to have somebody come in and do this, you're going to have a definite description for that person. And also, we're going to have an outline of saying, okay, this is what we expect you to do. This is how much time we're figuring this is going to be, and this is what we're going to pay. But that's not part of the discussion tonight. Tonight's discussion is simply to identify the functions that we want that person to do. And that's basically what this is about.
That we may want them to do. Yeah.
Yeah, we may want them to do. That's correct. I'm sorry.
That's
And
okay.
that's the other thing is that, and that's subject to refinement later as well.
Mm-hmm. Nicely stated.
Any questions?
Yeah, does anybody else have any questions from the community?
I think maybe just for some other clarification, where I'm kind of feeling that maybe Lynn's pointing to is that he's saying if Don is wearing 3 hats, general manager, secretary, and meter reader, he can't be 35% of each one of those job duties, obviously. So if he's 35% general manager and 35% secretary, the math isn't going to work out, even if you can't be 35% of all those things.
Right. And obviously the meter reading is a much smaller portion of his time than the other things that he does.
Correct. And I guess where I'm going with it, and I'm feeling Lynn, I think, is that he's saying if we're taking some of what Don does in that 35% and we're handing it over to somebody else and we're paying them, does some of that percentage then walk away from Don's 35% and say, I'm just arbitrarily saying this, 25% now, employee in that position, because now some of that duty's been siphoned off. So
Coming from a manager in local government's perspective, and Chuck was a department head for 25 or more years, when you hire staff, at least at the city level, to support the department head, or in my case, a middle manager, they don't look at reducing the salary of that managerial person. It's done when the tasks that are currently being done by that manager are more than that manager can handle, and do everything to the degree that you would like to see it done. So I can't see, and I couldn't support reducing Don's salary in any way, simply because he may have a administrative assistant or clerk helping him with some of the more mundane tasks.
And I think the other piece is we're not looking at adding the clerk position to the salary of the general manager.
Right.
Yeah, this is not like there's the operations one for the meter reader, that's totally separate. But this one is a defined position that, should we decide to move forward with any number of hours and any of the components of the job description, we'll have them ready to go for that particular person as needed, or not. It'll just stay not used.
yeah, I'm following and comprehending it. And, just to be clear, I was just looking at it from where maybe some of the confusion is for Lynn in his trying to make some logistical sense out of just using Don as the three parties.
Yeah, and I didn't think about the fact that there was that inclusion of the secretarial piece within in addition to the salary. So that makes sense.
That was all I had in the comment. Thank you, IU.
Anyone else?
No, that's all I have.
Lynn, are you good, or do you still have concerns?
Next slide. Well, we have to move on this one. So I think he's clear on where he stands.
Well, that I knew.
Okay, so we need a motion.
Okay, I did the last one. Somebody else's turn.
Well, I'll do that one. I move that
Okay.
we approve the job description and corresponding salary schedule to be translated into hourly versus annual for administrative assistant clerk.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll do a roll call.
Okay. Kathy,
Aye.
Bonnie,
Aye.
Dan,
I'm gonna say aye.
Rolanda,
I'm gonna say no.
and Lynn.
No.
Okay.
So motion carries 3.
There's 3-2.
Okay, moving on.
All right.
Number 5.
Do you need anything more? Oh, am I still sharing?
No, you.
No. I mean, do I still need to share?
So now we have the conflict of interest.
Wait a minute. Oh, the conflict.
I think that was the next document on that page, Kathy.
Yeah, I just saw that. I'll put it back up. Okay. Don, do you want to talk a little bit about this and then I can support what you're saying?
Sure. All right. Conflict of interest code is a code that gets reviewed every 2 years, which LAFCO wants the district to do. And in a nuts and bolts kind of a way, the conflict of interest code is kind of states who it's kind of to make sure that no one in the district is using their position to get unfair gains on the community. And so with that comes the signing of like the Form 700, which all the board members are more than familiar with. And this year they wanted, LAFCO wanted the district to identify the restrictiveness, or what positions should have to file the Form 700, and so with that, Bonnie, is that the conflict of interest code right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This looks like the current one that we have.
Yeah.
Is this- yeah.
And so right now, in our conflict of interest code, we take on what the county says that we need to do. And the county says that the board members need to file Form 700 annually. And what's being proposed is to make it more restrictive, meaning that more people will be required to file that Form 700, i.e. me. And there's potential that I could use my position to make gains or whatever. Not having a good idea on how, but I could give, for instance, though.
You could pick up babes.
Yeah, hey, I'm the water guy. Wife will fall asleep on that. You're the one. Anyway, but for instance, if I wanted to buy some land, and I bought some land that was not entitled to water, and then I used my persuasion as general manager to get the board to allow it to be a part of the district, and then all of a sudden the land value goes up because all of a sudden now it's entitled to water, and before it was worth 50,000 and now it's worth 75, and I just gained 25 from my position. That's an example of abuse of power, and so with that, with all that, the people that should be signing the Form 700 would be the board members, but then also me, and then Gerry, the running the water plant, and because there's a lot, he influences a lot of purchases in the district, and so based on his recommendation, I mean the board makes the judgment to do it, but he's got influence on that.
Doesn't Gerry have to sign one already under his own?
No, it's not required.
Well, it actually is for independent contractors, and his company is an independent contractor. And so the piece with conflict of interest now and Government Code 90 is that anybody that has any influence over the purchases of the district has to fill out either Form A or Form B or Form C, the Form 700. And independent contractors are designated as such if they influence the decision of the district, which in this case, Gerry certainly does. So if you have an independent contractor that is giving you governance on how to govern, they don't influence your decisions. But if you have an independent contractor like Gerry who is making recommendations for purchases and or purchasing for you, then he needs to fill out the Form 700. And there was a form, and I don't see it here, so I'm going to see if I can find it. That was the sample that was given by the CSDA, which is really a good one. And I was going to try to put our name on it so you could see what it would look like. And I'm going to see if I can bring it up for you,
So
because
700 is not standard form that we use.
it's a standard, yeah.
More people get to sign.
Right, that's all, right. So I'm familiar with it. I don't need to see it, and I understand the conflict of interest.
She was bringing up a different conflict of interest code from
It-
someone else.
Yeah, so that, and what it shows you is what we really do need to address ours, because the last time ours was done was, I think, in 2011, 12, something like that. And we're supposed to be doing it every 2 years, but Placer County supervisors are now asking for it too.
So we're proposing that we adopt this conflict of interest code or policy, right? And the biggest changes to them, we've updated them, and I didn't read anything that was conflicting, is that it would include you and any independent contractor that we hire.
That's correct.
And so what constitutes an independent, and it doesn't matter really, because everybody. It applies to
Well, this one is good because it actually gives the definition. That's why I wanted to bring it up and show you. It really looks good.
Yeah.
But board meeting link, C.S.D. login.
While she's looking, does anybody have any questions? And has everybody reviewed the proposed? She's got it up. Okay.
Here it is. So this one is from Mammoth, and this is the one that's proposed also by CSDA. So this is where Dawn got it, and then I found it there too. And this talks about conflict of interest as, you know, that Political Reform Act, but it also says we're not going to go through all of the garbage that we have to here. You can look for it here because the language is the same, which I kind of like. It shortens it a bunch. Oops, come on. Yeah.
Do we need a motion?
Well, we need any questions regarding this?
I just like the way it did it, but you would need to approve the appendix, which is going to include independent contractors, and it has a definition of what kind of independent contractors are on there. And then it has general manager listed as, because he's a purchaser. And for some reason, it's not letting me.
Kathy, would the CPA / our treasurer also fall into that?
And her, yeah, she's on there too, or that position is on there too. Well, I apologize. I can stop the share and go to my desktop, but I don't want to do that for you right now.
And so would the attorney? Does that?
And the attorney is on there
Yeah,
too.
the attorneys do.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's got all of those listed. I don't know if you can find it or not. I don't know why it's having a problem.
Any other questions? I think this is fairly straightforward. I'd like to move it along unless anybody has a question or needs some more understanding. This is fairly common in all industry sort of thing.
It is,
yeah.
very much.
I'm good with this, thanks.
If you go to the part 3 on the board documents, you'll see it there.
Part 3?
Yeah, there's 3 parts at the christianvalley.org.
Oh. Okay,
You're probably looking at an old version.
you want me to open up yet another tab?
It'll fit.
Yeah, it'll fit.
Yeah.
Dawn had a 9th hour revision and geez, that was,
I'm sorry. I just, my son gives me such a bad time for, so what is our website?
christianvalley.org. And then board docs over on the left, the second right there. And then down at the bottom.
Part 3. There we go.
Hear that one.
Okay.
And so
oh, there we go. Okay.
And then Mammoth is like the 4th page.
Yeah, so this is one that I was actually able to, they had 2 listed, so I pulled this one up because it was short and sweet. And it lists the district clerk and administrative as filling out category 2. And I like this one because it has the definition of the categories. But, and then this is what a consultant or independent contractor does. And then this is the best one though, and really easy to adjust and adapt, but this is what I liked about it. They have the designated positions and disclosure categories, and they have category 1, 2, 3. We don't have a human resources manager. We don't have an information services manager. We don't have a purchasing agent. So we could dial this into what we do have, but the maintenance superintendent would be the district manager, and then officials who manage public investments, that's the board. And then the disclosure categories here, but they have consultants and district council, and consultants are independent contractors. So I really like the way they had this, which would mean that we would be adding the general manager, the independent contractors, consultants, district council, and that was it, wasn't it?
And our treasurer / CPA.
And our treasurer, that's right, yeah, the treasurer CPA to this. And then leaving this because it's such a clear definitions in category 1, 2, 3, and it talks about consultants and why, and then what they're included, and then just some specifics in the Form 700. So they did a nice job, and I understand why C.S.D. used them as the example. So I'd like to use this one as ours.
Yeah, any questions from the community or? Okay.
Dan has no questions.
Okay, then,
Motion.
do we need a motion?
I make a motion that the 5 board members in Christian Valley Park CSD and the general manager of Christian Park CSD and the president of Weimar Water, who is our primary operations.
Hydros Engineering.
Yeah, who is our primary operation under contract as our primary water operator.
Yes.
Be required to fill out a Form 700. And additionally, the district reserves the right under situations that involve other contracts that we can also require that company to do a 700 or something along that line. So we have the leeway to.
And are you including the treasurer too in your motion?
Pardon?
Are you including the treasurer?
So before,
Yeah. Whenever we want to make a change, we can.
yeah,
You're talking about third-party vendors.
right. I think you're getting too specific. We need to make a motion to approve this document because that's what we're going to adopt.
Well, that's going to be the 5 of us and Dawn.
It's going to be a number of people, and it's every independent contractor, which means the attorney, it means Hydros, or if we don't use Hydros and use another person, we're not going to put their name.
Change the motion that we approve that document,
Right.
which includes
Yeah.
the 5 board members and the general manager.
And the independent contractors.
And
Any attorneys.
and any contractors.
Right.
Thank you.
Under-
Does that include do we have to go and get that retroactive? If you go this route, and if you're talking about independent contractors, all those people working on the tank project would be included.
No, because they're actually working for
Hydros.
yeah,
Well,
Hydros.
Yeah, hired by Hydros.
That's why Hydros has to do it. But yeah, for project work, it doesn't necessarily include that, but there's a definition for the independent contractors or consultants, depending on how you look at it, that specifies it,
100% influence the board.
Yeah.
But that's called out in the document, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it called out in the document there that independent contractors who influence the board?
But we don't want to include everybody on that contract.
No,
It has a level, but it's consultants. Here it is right here. An individual who pursuant to contract with the district makes a governmental decision to adopt or enforce a law, issue, deny, or suspend, authorize the district to enter into, modify, or renew a contract, grant district approval to a contract, grant district approval to a plan, adopt or grant district approval, or serves in a staff capacity with the district, which is what he does. Performs the same, substantially all the same duties that would otherwise be performed by an individual holding a specified position within the district. So that, and then it's got some other definitions, but that would be Hydros or anybody like Hydros.
Yeah.
And any of his affiliate partnerships that he's involved in, I guess, huh? If he's going to have shoestring companies that he is also involved with, that also involve us.
And then it also talks, Lynn, like you were talking, the reason I like this is like, the general manager may determine in writing that a particular consultant, although a consultant in designated position, nevertheless is hired or retained to perform a range of duties that is limited in scope and therefore is not required to comply. And the reason for that is because they're not recommending any purchases to the district. So it really is all about purchases and money.
And really, the treasurer, bookkeeper, CPA does not make any recommendations for purchases. They just record them.
But they do handle our investments, don't they?
No.
No, Dawn does.
Okay, well then you really need to be doing it, Don. All right, we can ask questions. We can ask about that one, but and we can also we can modify, because what this says, new position and added or new consultant. If the district creates a new position that requires a disclosure under this code without simultaneously amending the code, the employee appointed to fill such a position will file the Form 700. So this allows the district or Dawn or whoever to say, oh, you have to do it because we've now examined it without changing the code. So gives us a little bit of flexibility.
Okay, so Lynn's motion is to adopt
that
policy, okay?
And specifically to require the 5 board members, the general manager, and any other entities who come under contract with the district.
Okay.
That sound good?
I second that.
Okay.
All right. We're going to get ready for a vote now. Ta-da. Bonnie. Oh.
Bonnie, you awake?
Hi.
That's awesome. And Lynn?
Aye.
Rolando?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Kathy?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item number 6.
Okay, resolution 20-06, amending the district's water hookup rates. Well, that is just what it is. It's amending the hookup rates, and historically, we've always been using the Engineering News Record, their 20 cities index, and this year, due to COVID, affected the index this year. And so their index stopped in January. And so I just used January's number because there weren't any other current numbers to increase or decrease, I guess, but it always increased. And anyway, it went up by 0.008%. Well, it went up by almost 1%. So anyway, so that the hookup rate got, oh, there it is. It just went up a very marginal amount. And anyway, and There it is, right on the screen. Thank you, Kathy.
But that's our number to decide, right?
That's the new numbers for.
Yeah, I mean, that
2020.
number is the guidance, but we can set what we want,
That's correct.
you know?
We can do whatever we want.
But I'm thinking 3% for two reasons. There's a 1% right there. The thing with PCWA and the cost of water and that meter thing is unresolved, and that could cost us $10,000 easy in a year, maybe 20,000 on the cost of water. And the other thing is a big unknown is COVID-19. We don't know how that could affect us. So let's just say out of the air, let's say 3%, and be done with it.
And there's no restrictions, because I guess the reason you use an index is to stay within a certain number, right? But there's no restrictions, so we could do whatever. Okay, and so what is ultimately the connection then? What is it right now, I guess?
Right now, it's 1% less than that.
We also have to now worry about whether we connect anybody else, right? Because we're hitting capacity.
Because there was a lady on the Bylaws committee that said, why don't we run a sale? Actually, it sounded funny because, you know, you don't get to go to Kmart for that, but it actually makes some sense, because this is to pay for their piece of the plant, of the expansion.
We can't change that. Isn't that, well, okay.
So
we can change that. What we can't change is the standby fees, which are also.
Yeah, but that's not what she's talking about. Well, she's talking about, her suggestion was lower this so that everybody on Campbell and can't say no, that they would be enticed to do it, because they hear that roughly $12,000 or $12,000 price tag, and they're like, no thanks, I'll drink dirt. Or, you know,
yeah, it's an investment to get volume.
Yeah, exactly. Because the more people that you can bring on to the district, paying service fees and water and stuff. Yeah. And the capacity, by the way, includes those people that are on standby. So when he says we're near it, it's just, you know, it still includes those people.
That street goes two ways.
That what goes?
That street goes two ways, because the amount of water we can produce is not infinite. And there is a limit on how many people more we can take on board without extremely big expenses to put in another filter.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be careful and not just throw the gate open and say anybody can come in and it's cheaper.
Right.
You know, I was just merely bringing up the other side to it.
Yeah. And I think it's something we probably should spend some time on, so we understand where that sweet spot is, right?
Yeah. It's the supply and demand.
And Gerry needs to be involved.
Right. But anyways, but that's not what's on the table. So what's on the table is this, and Lynn, you're proposing actually to consider adopting a higher rate.
Well, I'm thinking 3% is way fair.
Okay.
Because of the unknowns with the.
Right. And so, and just to be clear, there is no restrictions on how much we can increase this. It's up to us. We're clear on that. Okay.
That's absolutely correct. You can just do whatever you want.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or any concerns about raising it to 3%?
As long as we're allowed to do that, I'm very mindful of doing the index.
I can ask the attorney.
Because in education, we were always prohibited from going higher than the index allowed. So, but I will.
So are we sure that we can do that or not?
No.
Yes.
The motion could be just to, you know,
Contingent
on the attorney approval.
Okay. So
that doesn't fall under a tax or an assessment tax. It doesn't fall under the 218 proposition requirements.
No, because this is not. These are the outside people from the district, basically.
I think if you surveyed the area, you'll find out they're pretty cheap compared to a lot of other places.
Well, even sometimes outside in the assessment district, it still falls under the same 218 requirements. So that's all I'm just trying to clarify.
Okay.
Lynn, why don't you change your, modify your motion to say pending legal counsel approval?
Yeah, well, he actually hadn't made a motion yet.
Oh, I thought he did.
Yeah, no, so we're discussing it, he proposes that. If everybody's okay with that proposal, then I think we can make a motion.
I don't think we need a motion. We just say we want to put it off till next month.
Oh, okay.
That's just
You
fine.
have to approve modifications to the resolution.
Sure. So we're not going to take action on this action item. We're going to confirm whether if we can raise it without concern that we're not being compliant, and then we'll bring it back to the board next
That
month.
makes sense to me.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Don had to step away, so I don't know if we need him to discuss item number 7. We can wait for him to come back.
What is item number 7?
This is the ADA compliant website hosting.
I can talk about that.
Okay, or we can go to the district credit card, because I don't think is that his also, or it doesn't matter?
I can speak to number 8. So whatever you want to do.
Let's speak to number 8, just because I'd rather have Don here for the number 7 discussion.
Okay, when Kathy and Don and I met to talk about the general manager's position and salary and the kinds of things that Don on a monthly basis has to reimburse himself for, going to Staples and getting ink and copy paper and so on and so forth. We then discussed the option, which I think is a great thing for us to do, of having what's basically a business credit card. So we'd have a credit card that would be issued by First Foundation Bank, which is where we have the bulk of our accounts, with a limit to be determined by the board. The interest rate is really not, as long as there's not an annual fee, and they have a number of options of different kinds of cards that have different fees and different interest rates. But because ours would be paid off every month, the interest rate really, is not germane. I think it makes a lot of sense. The idea of Don putting those kinds of purchases on his own credit card and then having to reimburse him later just seems inefficient, and in some ways feels like taking advantage of him. So I think it's pretty standard in business now and in government that managers have business credit cards, and so that's the proposal.
Does anybody have any questions from the board?
So what's the advantage of having a credit card other than we don't have to pay our bill for 30 days?
Don would not have to use his own credit card, which is what he's been doing for years, to purchase things for the district.
And I think that all expenses would be
convenient.
And it's
On one bill.
and one bill, and not mixed in with his personal expenses.
Convenient.
Yeah. Well, and I think better accounting.
It is better. It's much better accounting, and we're not asking for the He's not asking for the reimbursement.
Yeah, it's cleaner, basically.
It's cleaner and neater. So there's 2 ways to go about it. One is you can have a petty cash fund where you keep a certain amount in the cash fund, and then the board takes action each month to examine the expenditures that came from that. Or you can do the credit card, which has a maximum amount that can be used, and it also is delineated on what it can be used for. And then we get an itemized report that goes into our monthly check register, warrants, or whatever we want to call it at the end, expenses. And then Don is not using his personal money, because right now he's either putting it on a credit card or putting out his money, and then the reimbursement doesn't come for at least a month or 2. So he's actually paying more for the purchase than he would if he had either the cash on hand or something else. We're not reimbursed.
Right. And petty cash is really, really inefficient.
I know.
It's basically leaving you know, a chit with something, a receipt stapled to it. And then once a month you do a reimbursement. And I think this
You do a reconciliation.
makes
That's
a lot
much
of sense.
easier. Yeah.
So does it save you time and money, Don?
I would prefer this.
Pardon?
I would prefer having a district credit card. Just kind of leave me out of this. That's kind of my
Well,
point of view.
but you're the one-
Leave my. I would like separation between my personal.
That
stuff.
we have a district credit card, who are gonna have the cards? I don't know.
Not cards, there's one.
No.
And
The card would read,
Yeah, just be me.
yeah, the front of the card, Lynn, would read
Oh, really?
Christian Valley Park, C.S.D., and then would have Don's name below. So, you know, he wouldn't be passing the card to other people to use on behalf of the district. The card would have his, if these cards worked the way they did when I retired a number of years ago, it would have the district's name on it and his name. And, you know, it's just efficient, neat and tidy, wouldn't cost us a thing. Looks like there's no annual fee for most of these.
right. And there's only interest paid on the unpaid balance.
Correct. So if we
Yeah.
paid it off every month as we would, there's no cost to the district whatsoever.
What makes sense?
What kind of fraud protection does it come with?
Part of that's a really great question, and part of that is covered in the policy. That's why I want the policy committee to meet really quickly, because we need to adopt our financial policies that cover the use of the credit card and fraud protection.
Most credit cards, particularly most business credit cards, have, you know, the same kind of fraud protection that your own credit card probably has. You know, the tricky thing with that is that the notifications of irregular purchases usually come by phone or by email to the person whose name and contact information is on the account. However, you know, there's a lot of flags that credit card companies have. And with this kind of card too, and we were joking about it the other day, it couldn't be used, for example, at a casino to buy chips. It could be used at, you know, Staples and Costco and those kinds of places. But there are ways to exclude the kinds of purchases that are used on these kinds of cards.
Okay. No monthly or annual fee?
Right.
No annual fee.
That's pretty much Dawn's call, as far as I can see.
Yeah, well, Don's in favor of this.
Yeah.
Oh.
But, any questions from community?
Well,
Take a motion.
Although the one thing is, do we need to cite a credit limit? Because I think,
Yeah, I would like a low credit limit, $1,000.
okay.
You don't want it?
I don't want to. No, he's saying credit limit, and I'm saying $1,000.
I don't think they'll issue it for $1,000, but.
Whatever the lowest is.
Yeah, okay.
That's some protection.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever the minimum is.
Yeah.
Any questions from the community?
You can set a limit even on a business card, and whatever MasterCard or Visa's protection is generally set at, you know, whatever the first $50 or $100 is. You'd have to read the policy. But I just had one add-on, is that if you consistently go to like Staples, for instance, or you consistently gas up at a service station, specific service station, you can set up accounts there even with lower rates, and then it just bills directly to our treasurer or / CPA. And
There's no rate on this card though. There's no rate.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Glenn?
Well, for all intents and purposes, there's no rate because it's paid off every month. So it doesn't matter whether the interest rate is
I realize that.
16% or 30%.
I realize that.
Yeah.
I was just saying that you can have standing accounts at like Staples or Kinko's or whatever. They set up business accounts for ongoing billing, and then they just bill directly to our accountant. It just for other ones. I mean, they're arbitrary for the business credit card. That's one thing, and for Don to want a low limit makes sense. But for things that are ongoing all the time, sometimes it's just makes even more sense to just have those accounts set up at those vendors. That's just my take on it, and I yield.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Diane is right. It is easier to have, if you have a place like Staples or somewhere like that where you purchase regularly from,
So
and that would be easier. But then, like Bonnie said, if you have $1,000 limit,
Dan, do you have a question?
it makes it a moot point, really.
I'd like to move forward. So now we have a motion.
Oh, who made the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion.
I move that we get a credit card, a district credit card with the maximum limit of 1,000 to be used to purchase things so that Don doesn't have to spend his own money on them to purchase district items.
Can I have a second? Is that Bonnie?
No, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
I think there were two of us, so,
well, I think it was just you.
okay.
Okay, so,
Is Bonnie saying?
It's late, I'm getting an echo.
yeah.
I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed.
Okay. Lynn,
Aye.
Rolando, Bonnie,
Hi.
Kathy,
Hi.
Dan.
I
All right.
So number 7.
Okay. Streamline. This is actually quite cool service, and what it does is it takes away the whole need to to have a webmaster to make our website ADA compliant, but that's not all they do. They have like keep getting late. Like a desk, what do you call it? Desktop. Anyway, where you can dashboard, and you can. It's a communications tool with the community. It's they did something quite slick. They even made up. They just took our website, christianvalley.org, and complunked it into their website, and it's a streamline is specifically for special districts, small special districts, and then so it costs like $100 a month to have, and there, as far as I know, there's no setup fees, and we also can apply for a scholarship, which would give us the first 15 months free, and so it I don't know, in my brain it just comes under the No-Brainer Act, and because all of a sudden it's ADA compliant, but then they also keep it ADA compliant, and they maintain those policies and keep it sound. So to me, it takes.
I have it up. I have the draft of what they've done up, and just so that we can see it. But this is a part of the C.S.D. So the special pricing comes from C.S.D. But they do it all, and yet we can edit as we want to. But this is, for example, this would be about us, so we would fill this in. Governance would have everything that we need here, and then services, any updates that we want to add to whatever we're doing. This sets up a pay online ability, and I'm pretty sure we already have that available, but if we don't, this could
Click it.
Yeah.
Click it.
oh click it.
Click it.
As I pay my bill, I'm already paid. Oh,
There it is.
there we go. So
Yeah.
this is us already, and again, it was really funny. And then this is the contact us piece. So it was kind of funny when I was doing the compensation surveys. I kept clicking on the websites, and I would say 7 out of the 10 or 12, 7 out of 10 were using this website because they all look the same. But it really is a great deal, and particularly from the perspective of you being ADA compliant, doing everything we're supposed to. So as Dawn was saying, and then they do all the training videos, and they work with you. But it's really a done deal, and it looks nice. I mean, we could create our own pictures here, but it's.
So what's the cost?
The cost, well, it's $100 a month at worst case scenario. And that's because we belong to the CSDA, California Special Districts Association. But we also, that's worst case scenario, but I have an application right here to get the first 15 months free.
And if we're not a member of the district, are they, a year from now?
Then it pops to 150 a month.
How much a month?
And
Now, $100 a month.
how would we transition all of our historical documents, if you will, minutes and
$100 a month?
Yeah, but we can have a scholarship for 15 months free.
Okay.
And what's the setup fee, Don? Do you remember?
Don't think there is a setup fee.
So we would be responsible for moving all the stuff that's currently on the website over.
Oh, they do that.
Okay.
oh, they do that. Wow.
Yeah. Nice. This is a nice.
Do they
That's
have,
That's the most challenging part of this.
right. Do they have a template basically?
I have a question, Don.
Go for it, Dan.
Are you trying to drag us into the 21st century here?
20
What's
seconds.
wrong with your Google Docs? I'm just teasing.
So, do they do it for other districts?
I'm sorry?
Do they do it for other districts? Because I thought
They're fairly new, I think.
I think
But I
They
don't-
do. They probably do for about 50 of the
Special.
service districts in California.
I just wonder if you want to call them just to make sure they have a good experience. But this sounds really great.
Oh yeah.
I think they've been.
Yeah, no,
I mean, we talked to them just on Friday, conference with them on Monday, Monday, and then they made a website, just a skeleton website by Tuesday. And so to me, they're more than responsive. They're like more responsive than our phone calls.
Yeah, that's really responsive.
And that contract would be for a year, or once we're in contract, for how long?
I
15, I thought it was 15. I thought it was 15 months, but it's the same amount of time that we are currently belonging to CSDA.
Okay. All right.
What happens if we want to go to a different website? Is that our content and we own it, and we'll be able to migrate it out of there?
I don't know that. That's actually a good question, but I don't know.
Well,
I'm sure it is, but let's just make sure, because there might be charges to get out, right? Well, it's kind of the thing. We'll store it for free, but if you ever want it, you're gonna have to pay us.
Yeah, some hosts do that. But
I think this sounds great.
Actually, this says risk-free, month-to-month, affordable, no long-term commitments, no uploading or hosting limits, unlimited. So it looks like if for some reason we got 6 months into it and we weren't happy, we can cancel anytime.
yeah.
Still have our old decrepit one
Well,
by Google.
and if we back this up to something, then we'll have the access to that stuff. That's in it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure it's feasible, because it wouldn't be in business if it wasn't, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
there's things to be aware of, because I know, with some of the vendors that I deal with, it's cheap to get in the door. Getting out of the door is expensive.
Yeah, well, and I've dealt with some that are like that too, for web hosting for school districts, but this one has the ADA the ADA compliance and all the requirements in place, and they keep up to date on that. But they advertise it as software as a service, So we're using their service, which tells me that whatever we put on there is ours. But they would probably, if we wanted to back out, they would give us a time limit to get stuff off.
Yeah, or if they'll charge us a fee, which is,
Yeah.
still sure it's reasonable. Any other questions from anybody?
Just do they have phone support during setup, or do we know? I mean, is all of the setup online? I mean, is there somebody that we can talk to, or?
I saw on the screen that just rolled through.
Which one? This one?
Talk
to us, get started?
Us right there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been a while since I did anything like this, but I just know it's nice to be able to have a, help desk on the other side.
You think?
I do think, yeah. I'm old school. I do think.
I know. I love it. Yeah.
I think it looks great. Yeah.
Oh, 20 minutes at the max. You have to wait 20 minutes for help desk.
Oh, well, that's not the end of the world, I think.
They serve 450 special districts.
That's a lot.
I know.
Happy special.
I like the part here where it says no long-term contract, so it is month to month then.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
I would check that out though.
I kind of remember reading it this month.
Yeah, it said so there, yeah. Okay, any questions?
He said, yeah, Chris Ryan is the head of customer happiness. I would like the board to authorize Dawn to enter into an agreement with Streamline to get us started on this.
I second that.
Okay. All right. Dan?
Yeah.
Your eye? Is yeah and
Where-
aye?
They have a motion. Do you approve?
Dan?
We
Yes.
I'm gonna take that as a yes.
Earth to Dan, Earth to Dan.
I'm Dan here.
Okay. All right. Bonnie?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Rolando?
Yes.
Lynn? Henry? All right. All
Okay.
ayes.
That includes the scholarship too, right, Don?
Yes.
To apply for the scholarship.
And before we get too far away from that, I just want to have a quick shout out to Diane, who she is just a research queen, because she's the one that found this affiliate of CSDA, and she's helped me out tremendously this month. One is I could not find on the internet where, because Governor Newsom said that utilities cannot shut off water to anybody, and I just in passing asked her if she would kindly research it. She did more than research it. She went all the way to the top. I will not to Newsom, but
Yeah.
she went a long way. Anyway, I just want to say thank you, and I just really appreciate your help, Diane.
Yeah, I want to echo that. I think I can say thank you on behalf of the board as well for your contributions on this and other things. I think this is you've offered some or removed some ambiguity around a lot of different topics in the conversation. So we do appreciate your participation. So thank you.
I appreciate your appreciation. Thank you very much. And I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay.
All right.
So on that same subject, do we have any customers that are in that position where they're way behind on payment?
We have
Any more than
like two that are way behind, like 2 quarters behind.
COVID-19 issues, or just?
I wouldn't say it is, but
Standard operating.
all they have to say is COVID and they have it. Or I mean, they have it.
Habitually behind, huh?
Yeah, choosing to be behind, I think. But anyway, that's my opinion.
Okay, so
But
moving
it's
on.
not a lot of money though.
Moving on to the next section of the agenda, G, information discussion actions. information, discussion, and actions. So the newsletter, the brainstorm ideas for the next newsletter to the residents to accompany the water bill in October. I didn't bring my notes from the last meeting, but one of the things I thought of, and I don't know if we wanted to see if there was someone in the community that might help us build the signposts so that they're a little bit more creative. Did we talk about that? Or?
Oh, okay.
We talked about that.
What's that?
I said, I thought we talked about that to put it into the newsletter to see if there was somebody that could do that.
Yeah, but that, yeah, that was for the next newsletter. So I'm just reminding everybody.
Get any volunteers?
No, we haven't put it in yet.
So we're going to be asking for volunteers, unless you are a woodworker.
I do woodwork, but I'm not super fancy. So.
All right.
So what other things should we have in the newsletter? Because Bonnie has been writing the newsletter, and she's graciously agreed to write it once more. And anyway, I want to have the newsletter ready to be approved next month, so that in September it gets approved, so it's ready to go when the meters are read, and it's not waiting till the next October.
When does the newsletter go out?
It'll go out the very, very beginning of October, as close to the beginning. As soon as the meter readings start.
Just say 10-1.
Okay.
Probably more like 10-10, but I'd like the newsletter to be ready for next month. So that's why we're brainstorming topics right now.
Okay. This is just the standard, and then we can add whatever the board would like. Typically, though, in the fall, we remind people, and I see some people in our neighborhood who do that, to clear gutters and culverts, because as soon as there's not going to be another newsletter after the October newsletter until we're into winter. So as soon as it starts raining, and given all the trees that we have, the culverts and gutters and everything really fill up with leaves. And as Lynn knows, in the Westridge Circle, Westridge Avenue and Morningside area, we have a lot of overflow. So that's kind of a standard fall newsletter kind of thing.
And then a tank update.
Tank update is always on the first page.
Our new website by that time will be up and running.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
What about, and I'm going to kind of switch a little bit. We talked about the site walkthrough, and we had talked, but I probably need to talk to Gerry about what we might be able to do. And then if I get that information together, we can talk about it on 9/13, and we can maybe amend that piece. But I want to get it out there. It may not be the right thing with COVID being what it is. I think in the past discussions we had, soon we'd be back to a normal state.
Right.
I was just going to say, would it be appropriate to welcome new members to Christian Valley? Because I know that there's a lot of sales going on, and there might be a lot of new members coming in. And it just seems like if we want to really create a community, then maybe we can do that by welcoming our new members in the newsletter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Particularly with the new website, that would be a good way you could put that on there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wrote that down. I like the idea, and Gerry talked about doing a tour for board members as well. I like the idea of picking a day and time and inviting the community to see what's going on with the tank project. By the time the newsletter goes out, we will have gotten through, digging the big trenches and things that might be a hazard. So I can talk to Gerry about a date that might work for him, and we can at least put it out there to people.
So, Bonnie, Don is saying that we likely are not ready to go by October.
The time that the district, that Gerry was talking about having the community come out, was after the first tank is finished.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
That time in the demolishing of the
Gotcha. Okay. Super.
And I don't think I think it's,
Okay,
we'll want to do that in a newsletter, but not this
yeah,
one.
let's just keep it on the list for future, okay.
Okay, okay. What else, guys?
Could I interject something here in terms of what you were just discussing? Being we don't know where the COVID thing's going to do, maybe we can do a video camera, basically like a video tour of what's going on at the facility, and then post that as a link to the website on the Christian Valley YouTube channel.
Yeah, we can tell them to do it. We can tell them to go and look for, in the newsletter, tell them, hey, if you want to see what's going on with the build, we can take some of the video. That's a good idea. It might take some time though to put together something meaningful. But that's a great idea.
Yeah, I could totally make a YouTube channel, boom, and all you need to do is just upload the video, and then I could have it AI to close caption for anybody who's hearing impaired.
Yeah. I don't know that we can get that done by.
Yeah.
But I like that idea before Christmas kind of a thing.
Anybody who's got an iPhone can do the video. That's pretty good. Just walk around and walk and talk, basically.
As long as you don't shake too much, you're okay.
If we get one, we'll put it at the homepage of the website.
Okay, well, I will have a draft for the September meeting, and then we can certainly make changes, and we'll have enough time to finalize it so I can go out with the October bills.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Moving.
Okay.
No motions.
Okay, September agenda items. The only thing, item number 6 is going to move to September.
That's right.
Yeah. We're hopefully we'll have more updates on the board bylaws and maybe be able to approve them.
I hope so.
We can get. We already did the conflict of interest, so that one doesn't apply. Kathy, you said you were going to try and do something about a financial policy soon, so maybe.
Well, yeah, we'll. I'm going to meet with the first meeting of the policy committee, and that's the first one I'm going to be doing. So. Yeah,
and basically anything that the committees are working on, we're getting an update regardless. We don't need to add them to the special agenda items.
Right. It's not. It's just it'll just be an update. I mean, if the policy is coming forward as a first read, which is quite possible, then it'll be an agenda item too.
Yeah, let's put on the agenda item though discussion around the virtual tour.
Okay.
And, I'm gonna put a little thought into that maybe. Anything else?
We're going to need photographs of all the board members to put on the website. That's actually a compliance issue.
I know it is, and links to the emails.
Emojis.
I have this picture from about 20 years ago that's really nice. I'll give that one.
That's what my driver's license looks like.
Okay. Where's the roads?
Roads is down future agenda items.
No, but we normally give an update on roads.
I know, but it's down below.
There's nothing to update for roads? That's where we didn't.
I don't know where it went.
Okay, well, we're missing, yeah, no problem. Okay, so if we're done with future agenda items. Okay, then moving on to the next section of the agenda, basically consent items. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes for the July 14th meeting?
Right here.
Very good.
And then the monthly expenses, which is the spreadsheet that Don puts together.
On part 3.
That's in part 3. Okay.
One possible thing, and we may want to wait till November or till we get the new board. We probably want to do a workshop, maybe even within the board meeting, or we'll have to set up another one. But I like to go over that spreadsheet in detail with everybody so everybody understands what's on it, so that when we're reviewing it. I think historically I had done a lot of looking into it and stuff, but I think it would be important for everybody on the board to be more familiar with how that spreadsheet works.
Oh, a budget workshop?
It's not a budget because it's an actuals review of the actuals, but just so everybody understands that spreadsheet and the kind of costs and where they're
be able to read it.
Yeah, just be able to read it where the expenses are logged.
Okay.
And as well as kind of some of the challenges with the spreadsheet, because it's not perfect.
That'll be good timing, because we're halfway through the year.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. I would also like to suggest that as for the new board, it is a governance workshop and then a Brown Act review.
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd like to recommend something, if I could. Joanne and I were discussing it tonight before the meeting even started, that at the beginning of a meeting, there should be a review about how to participate in Zoom, where each thing is, because I had to walk Joanne through to even find out how to raise your hand, how to mute and unmute the phone when you're just doing on the phone call versus when you're on the web page. So I just think, when other people, I mean, we're fairly versed in it, but when we get newbies in especially, I think that just should be a protocol in the beginning of the meeting, just so that they know how to use it. Plus, I believe that's also a compliance issue. So I just want to make a mention of that so that we're cognizant of it each time we do a meeting, because these are going to get uploaded and referenced to the website to stay in compliance.
A couple of thoughts along that line. One is, maybe in our newsletter, we need to remind people that we're doing the meetings via Zoom, because they might encourage them to participate.
Okay, I did that in the last one, but I will highlight and bold it again.
And then, in addition to that, I'm sure there is a YouTube Zoom tutorial out there that exists right now that we can link them to and tell them to go, that, maybe a short one, so that they can have access and see that before the meeting, because I struggle with spending time doing training.
I agree. Okay.
Well, and I do know that Zoom does have that.
Yeah. But I think we need to find one that's
User-friendly?
Brief and to the point, because nobody's gonna sit on a half-hour tutorial either.
Okay, I'll find the link to that, and I will put that in the newsletter.
Need a motion.
Yeah, so I need a motion for the consent items.
So moved.
Second.
Then second,
Who's first?
Kathy.
Okay. And then Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Was it, who was it?
Okay, I'll just do a roll call vote. Lynn?
Who was the second?
Are you in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Kathy?
Aye.
Bonnie?
Yep.
Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I did that all 5.
Okay, the last item on the agenda. Any comments from the audience for items not on the agenda? You need to speak up because I can't see the hands if people are using their hands.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, then thank you, everybody. Go ahead.
Motion to adjourn, right?
Oh, we need a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
We
Oh,
will.
one more thing, Dawn, from now on, whenever you put up documents that are going to go to, especially this website, they all have to be signed. You can't put up any more documents in your, like when you post documents that were approved, like this would be, your signature has to be on all those.
For all approved documents, right?
Right. Anything that gets put up on the website, and also the, the way that you'll go into it, but I'm just saying, make sure that you sign everything that you scan and put up there.
Okay.
Well, but we don't want to sign draft documents, right?
But draft documents.
No, I'm talking about approved documents that are
Well,
posted.
you have
No,
these-
just any final approval documents such as minutes or any resolutions that get approved, we have to post them in certain areas. They need to be signed and dated, but I'll work with you on that one.
She's saying that because sometimes I take the document in Word and say save as PDF. And then,
Yeah.
So.
So that it's just those final things. They need the signatures and the dates, and the dates are super important, but we'll work on that one.
Yep.
Okay.
So motion to.
Yeah. So I need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, so moved.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
So Dan and I are ready to leave.
All in favor?
I
Bye.
gotta get some sleep, guys.
Bye,
I gotta
guys.
get early.
See you later.
All right.
Hasta
see you
la
guys.
vista. Thank you, everybody.